the time being 7 o'clock, I'd like to open up the Conservation Commission meeting for May 16th, 2024. Before we begin, I'd like to point out if anyone is interested in recording the meeting, either audio or video, please let us know up front. We are capturing this via video feed as well as recording in the microphones specifically for the note takers, the minutes takers, to clarify who's speaking and what's being said. Without further ado, I'd like to open up the public hearing for the NOI for 15 Liberty Way.
Roll call.
I'm sorry?
Roll call.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. Got roll call. Again.
Dick Johnson here.
Michael Ryan.
Jeff Livingstone.
Jeff Milne.
Roger Trahan.
Nicole Sharamonte.
And I don't think we have anyone online, correct?
Mark was here until, he's reconnecting.
Is Mark?
He's joining, reconnecting.
Okay. He said he was gonna
Goddard here is for the first hearing, if we're ready to start on that.
We're waiting for our vice chair to connect.
I'm here.
Okay, all
Yeah,
right. So
thank
we have,
you.
okay, thank you. Okay, so now I'd like to open up the NOI for 15 Liberty Way.
Yes, good evening.
So
Scott
there
Goddard
have,
from
oh,
the-
excuse me, Scott, one second.
One second,
okay.
Scott.
Yep.
So there have been some new developments. Since the last time we met, I did receive confirmation that the applicant is unable to find O&M plans
Okay.
to demonstrate that the basin on property at 15 Liberty Way has been operating and maintained per stormwater standards. Additionally, I did hear back from DEP. I did provide that email to the applicant and engineer, and it's also in your packets. So DEP has provided some language in agreement that if the basin has not been operated or maintained per the stormwater standards and the applicant is unable to provide said documentation, then it is within the jurisdiction of the commission to make a determination that it would be BVW. So I defer that determination to the commission.
Okay, right. And again, we've, as just from a historical note, we've had this kind of situation come up many times before where subdivisions get started, either they get delayed or people run out of money. Years and years later, they go back and they find basins that have not been maintained because, again, nobody was maintaining it because there was no money, no activity, and they become essentially BVW. So we've had this argument in the town several times over many years, just FYI. So, Scott, did you have some comments?
I did, yes, thank you. I would like to update the commission also as to where.
One second. Is there any way to boost the sound? He's very, very light. Can barely hear you.
I can do my best to speak loud if that's more helpful.
No, I think it's here. Okay, all right, go ahead, go Scott, thanks.
Yep. Is that more clear if I speak?
That's a little more clear, yeah, but you're not coming in very loud, just so you know.
Okay, I'll speak up as loud as I can reasonably here. So can I share my screen? Is that okay?
Certainly.
I have to have the ability enabled.
There you go.
Perfect. Okay, so hopefully you can all see my screen. Would like to just walk through very briefly where we kind of have landed and where I see this going in the near future. So existing site locus at Liberty Way, 15 Liberty. The project area is to the north of the building in that woodland area. This easement along the left-hand side or the western side is the area that we're talking about where there's existing pipes and stormwater features, etc. The current version of the proposed site plan looks a lot like this, which is a modified parking lot design where we removed portions of the pavement in order to steer away from the area where the water is breaking out of the berm. Remember, there's a stormwater feature just north of the site where there's been some leakage in the berm, which has created a little isolated wetland feature over here. The proposal is to fill a small area which is labeled Area G. There's also two more portions of what are designated as wetlands, either IVW or BVW, depending on the conversation. Both stormwater features, both in disrepair, both in need of improvement, which is what this plan proposes. So H is really a ditch that conveys stormwater around the site. And then B is the basin that is the subject of our discussion on jurisdiction. I think regardless whether we call it IVW under Franklin's bylaw or whether we call it BVW under the state law, or both, or neither, either way, we're proposing this as a way to improve a deteriorated stormwater management feature on the site that will now bring the site into compliance with the stormwater management standards. So I think the jurisdictional status is less critical. So what's more critical is that we propose a project that meets the interest of the act. This was a mitigation plan for IVW replication just north of the parking area with grading and planting. This was our proposed planting scheme in the basin that would be the improved stormwater management features alongside the drain pipes and easement within the footprint of those failed basins and stormwater features. This here shows overall the invasive species management zones that we're proposing as additional buffer mitigation along the western side of the parking lot in and around the basins and easement, but not within the easement itself. The area is heavily impacted by invasives, and non-native control would be an improvement to the zone. The question has come up about the jurisdiction of the pond that Bricolai was referring to earlier. This is a little bit of information that we've collected since that discussion was initiated. This shows where the existing basin is. We have an outlet control structure that currently exists from that basin that goes into a stormwater pipe. This is what that outlet control structure looks like, fairly evident in the field, this concrete outlet pipe. And this water area to the left is the basin. The water travels from the basin down the easement within this drain line and then discharges into an off-site basin, okay? This aerial photograph shows the path of water. The little green area is our B series, IVW or BVW. Not sure that it matters that much. Water flows down this pipe, discharges into this off-site basin. That basin itself has its own outlet control structure, which then discharges into a naturally occurring BVW and riverine system. This looks like the outfall of the pipe leaving the B series and entering in the down gradient basin looks like. This is a picture of the down gradient basin and the water then that discharges from the basin into the surrounding natural BVW system. This is the section of the regulations that was referenced by the email by Tom Rabula from DEP. Specifically, the reference here is that stormwater basin systems designed, constructed, installed, operated, maintained, and or improved as defined in the regulations in accordance with the standards is not by themselves subject to or constituting an area subject to protection. It's provided two things. One is that the system was designed, constructed, installed, and or improved on or after 1996. We know in this case that that lower basin was in fact improved with a valid order of conditions in compliance with the regulations post 1996. We have that documentation with an order of conditions and a certificate of compliance. And then this here talks about basins that were constructed within areas subject to protection. In other words, this is not applicable to our site, but if you had a basin constructed within a BVW. This is the order of conditions issued by this commission in 1999, that's post-1996, that allowed modifications and improvements to that off-site stormwater basin. This site plan, done by engineering design consultants, shows the approved site plan by the commission that had stormwater management improvements. Another view of that same, that's the as-built. That was issued with the certificate of compliance request, and here's the COC, in which 1999, the Conservation Commission affirmed that the basin was maintained and improved in accordance with the regulations post-1996. So according to 10.02, that would make this basin non-jurisdictional under the Wetland Protection Act. I recognize, I'm talking about the off-site basin, not even the one on-site. But it would be jurisdictional, I believe, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not sure it matters, under the wetlands bylaw. And then if we go further upstream, to our site, and, that all that work talked about this basin. If we go back up now to the little guy that we're talking up here, so that's just a basin connected to this other basin. So there wouldn't be consistent connectivity of jurisdiction to make it BVW all the way through. So I think that is consistent with the IVW definition. I have put back up here the original site plan that we're seeking approval on. This is the peer review check that was cut today to advance the peer review efforts on the revised site plans and stormwater management that was submitted to the commission. Again, independent of the academic exercise of BVW or IVW, it's under 5,000 square feet. It is a failing stormwater feature, area B I'm referring to, and this is an improvement to that feature, much like what 10.02 imagines. It imagines that you can propose improvements to stormwater management systems. That's what the reference is, and that's what this commission did to the lower basin in 1999. That's what we're seeking to do here. We're taking a deteriorated stormwater management system and improving it to come in compliance with the stormwater management standards. We're also planting it, as it were, to create that habitat and wetland type features so that there would be ongoing jurisdiction under the act, presumptively if we wanted to, or under the bylaw by your definitions. Again, I don't think that it matters that much. So what we would like to do is allow the peer review to continue with the check that was submitted. We've requested a brief-a-lie that maybe a technical meeting could happen with the design consulting team and the peer review consulting team in order to work out any nuances or details relative to this so that we can hopefully advance the public hearing process and bring this shortly to a close. That's all I have for you tonight. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I have one question. Before you say that, I have one question. So, correct me if I'm wrong. So as it's presented, again, we're talking about 1999, right? So
Yeah.
roughly 25 years ago. If the improvements were done at a certain point in time, and then from there on out, say for 20 years hence, right? There was no maintenance, right? And essentially, this is hypothetical, and the site or the basin did essentially revert to wilderness. Would that same caveat still apply? It doesn't seem like that would be the case.
Yes, after speaking with, thank you, Chair Livingstone. After speaking with Tom Rabula, we actually had an extensive conversation on the phone. He's in agreement. He's in agreement that the basins need to be operated and maintained. I understand and acknowledge the OR, but this is DEP's stance. I've spoken to 2 analysts from DEP about this project. Additionally, Tom Rabula was not of the mindset that the off-site basin changed the BVW jurisdiction of the on-property basin. So the applicant was unable to provide documentation demonstrating that the on-site stormwater basin
Right.
was designed, constructed, operated, maintained, and/or improved since 1996. They were only able to provide an order of conditions for the off-site,
Right.
off-property basin,
Which is not included in this
which is
project.
not included in this project.
Right.
So what I would recommend, actually before I get into my recommendations, I did want to make a note about the peer review check. So we are on our third scope and amended scope and fee for this project. The third scope and fee was delivered April 23rd to the applicant. I followed up May 1st for payment. As of last week, I learned that the applicant would like to seek a work session. So I did request a fourth scope and amended scope and fee from Beta. So Scott, I haven't received that fourth amended scope and fee, so I hope you didn't send that check yet, because I have not delivered a new amended scope and fee to include that work session. So if that check is for the third scope and fee, that's all well and good, but you will likely need to cut another check to include money for that work session. I'd like to note that any payment has to be received prior to said work session. And then I have some recommendations for the commission. If the commission would still like to suss out this issue of jurisdiction with DEP, might I recommend that the applicant reach out to Tom Rabula and receive it in writing and deliver it back to us.
I was reaching the same
Perfect.
conclusion.
And then I would also recommend that the applicant start considering that it is BBW and pivoting just to see what their options are to make this project feasible.
For example, stormwater elsewhere on the property?
Exactly.
Okay, I see. Yeah, I mean, the bottom line is, and again, when we look at projects, we have the scope of the project laid out in front of us, and the scope is the scope. The limits and boundaries of the project are set as per the documents that we've received. We really cannot walk outside that and consider other things that may or may not be. Unless, of course, there is some sort of, say, DEP concern where management of a project or change in a project would then basically negatively impact downstream resources. Then, of course, that's a different story. But in this case, it's basically referring to, as Brika said, a basin that literally is off the site of the project. We cannot consider that as part of our thinking, even if we would want to practically. It's not part of the project in front of us. It's not part of what's in front of the commission. So the project has to stand on its own. So hence the comments or the discussion here about possibly as an option finding some other place, other location, right? Or in the case, going to DEP and getting some sort of covenants from them saying, okay, we agree with the applicant, this is fine, you have our blessing to basically do this. That really seems to be the only one of two options that are open for this commission. And I will take comments from the commissioners if anybody wants to make a point.
So, they're gonna build a basin, right? And the problem now becomes that the water that goes out of that basin and off property to the basin down here that we can't consider makes this invalid and won't work anymore. So we can't, is it what comes out of the basin that they're planning on building that is the crux of the matter?
It's the maintenance. It's specifically the maintenance. The thing's basically been non-maintained.
The one that, aren't they gonna improve the one that's on the site?
Bree,
I think Jeff,
So there's
Jeff,
go
aren't
ahead, Mark.
we talking, oh, go ahead, yep, go ahead.
one second, go ahead, Bree.
Okay, sorry, Mark.
No, no worries.
So there's an existing basin, yes,
Yeah,
that they are calling stormwater features.
Yeah.
For brevity, I think between Beta, myself, and the applicant, I would like to just call it basin.
Sure.
Because then that's non-confusing to
It's a
everybody.
basin. Sure.
Basin.
Yep.
All right, so that basin, the applicant has not provided any sort of documentation or confirmation that it meets stormwater standards or the regulations. Because it's never been maintained, it is exhibiting wetland features. It connects to Dix Brook eventually, so that would make it bordering vegetated wetland.
This is
to
the one that's
Dix Brook.
off
No,
their
on-site.
property.
This is on-site.
Yeah. On-site.
Yes, so what the applicant had provided was documentation, you have basin on site,
Yeah,
we'll show the TV, okay, basin here,
Offsite,
Yep, and then you have Dix Brook.
right,
So they provided documentation for this basin
Okay.
off-site, not this basin.
okay.
DEP is saying this information that they provided for this second basin doesn't qualify. It does not change their determination,
Of that,
soft determination, you guys make the determination,
Yes, yes.
that this is BVW.
yes.
All
Does that
right.
make sense?
And again, my point is that historically, when things have been non-maintained and they've basically reverted, historically, we have considered them as BVW.
They've reverted. So are they planning on doing anything with it? No. Yes?
Well, that's what they're trying to find out. So depending on the jurisdictional status of this basin determines what they can and can't do.
Right.
So that
Okay,
is why the
plan it in.
recommendation is, sorry, Mark, for them to
Yep.
consider other options because it allows for a more pliable project. Go ahead, Mark, I'm finished.
Because I think they had planned to convert that into an infiltration basin, right?
Yes.
So not leave it as is, but convert it into a different feature that would materially change that feature, which is, a BVW. I think that's the problem, is are we willing to let them turn a BVW into an infiltration basin? Is that accurate, Bricolai?
Yes, thank you, Mark.
Okay, yeah, I just want to make sure I had it straight.
Thank you,
Scott,
Mark.
what are your thoughts in terms of examining other options to place that infiltration basin?
So, I mean, that's something that would have to be looked at. I guess I'm a little surprised at kind of the hangups that I'm hearing here. The records for that upper basin on site were not able to be uncovered at the town hall. Apparently, the records were lost or destroyed or some such thing. So, I can't tell you the history of how and why and when that was built. It clearly was built as a stormwater basin. It's readily evident in the field. There's riprap, pipes, check dams, all the features of a stormwater management feature. And it's causing significant erosion and non-treatment of water heading down into what you all identified as ultimately to a perennial stream and BVW system. So I would think we'd want to improve and protect that down gradient receiving water, and leaving a failing and failed basin that's been unmaintained in effect without an O&M plan, and replacing it and improving it, just like the basin that this commission allowed improvements for and welcomed them apparently with an order of conditions in 1999 downstream. We would be doing the same thing. We would be improving a basin. And that's something that's allowed to do with an order of conditions. Otherwise, 10.02 wouldn't exist if you couldn't seek an order of conditions to improve or maintain a basin. It's a very common practice to tend to stormwater management features, and the reason we get an order of conditions for it is so that it's done in an appropriate way that protects the resource areas and also, in this case, improves stormwater management. So as a scientist, as a professional, I've been doing this 30 years, I would seek this as a great benefit. As far as the jurisdictional thing goes, if we're intercepted by something of non-jurisdiction, we can't have BVW intercepted by a non-jurisdictional feature and then jurisdiction down below. That separation creates the isolated nature of it. I think it's just safer to call it isolated vegetative wetland. If the basin itself lacks any of the features of BVW because of the intercepting stormwater basin that was shown to be non-jurisdictional. And just because there's vegetation in it doesn't make it unmaintained, because you can create basins that have stormwater features, that have vegetation and everything. Even this basin we're proposing to plant it with wetland plants. That doesn't mean that it's unmaintained. It just means that it's being planted with particular habitat benefits to it. So I see this as a great project. We have infiltration proposed, we have stormwater management improvements, and we're getting rid of a failing and failed system that had blowouts of erosion measures. And if we just avoid that altogether, we're doing nothing to protect the down gradient receiving waters. So I think the project is sound, and I think a technical meeting with, Brika and your peer reviewer, might be able to, kick around some common sense ideas on this. But the site's tight. There's not much room there for what we were doing. We've already removed pavement. And we're doing subsurface infiltration. So there's not a lot of room to seek for other measures, and I'm not sure that helps the wetlands. It avoids the opportunity to help the wetlands.
Okay, thank you, Scott. Brika?
Yep, I just have a few last minute comments, and then I think we could probably continue this. So again, Scott, I would recommend that you reach out directly to DEP. I think that would probably help the commission.
I agree.
With that, our town clerk has plenty of records going back to the creation of the town of Franklin. So you may not have found anything with Planning Board or Conservation Commission, but I definitely recommend you reach out to the town clerk. And then perhaps he will be able to find information there that will help the commission make their determination. I did want to note, Scott, you are allowed to make small modifications to BVW. And you can improve BVWs on site in any project. There's nothing holding you back from improving that BVW to function better. I think the commission is merely requesting that you consider other ideas for stormwater management not in that BVW. For example, you can include any of those improvements as part of a restoration plan or an invasive species management plan. So then you do get those high quality functions of BVW and stormwater function elsewhere on property.
If possible.
If possible.
Right. So, so Scott, I really do think that at this point, there should be an appeal to the DEP. And honestly, if you just basically lay out your project exactly the way you did here, which is the overall you see it as an improvement, right? And I don't think anyone's debating that specifically. I think it's basically the pre-existing conditions and the bylaws that we have in the town that are causing the hang-up. So that's what I would suggest. If there's no further comment from the commissioners, are there any comments from the audience, either here or online, about this project? Okay, no. Then I think I'll take a motion to continue.
I'll give you a motion to continue the NOI for 15 Liberty Way to May 30th at 7:01 p.m.
Second.
Okay.
Vote to continue.
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 Abstain.
Mark?
You.
Okay, continue. Thank you. Thank you,
Thank
Scott.
you all. Have a good night.
Okay. Okay. So now I'd like to open up the next hearing, the NOI for 121 Grove Street. Is there anyone here from Grove Street? Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
good evening.
Good evening.
Yep, I'm John Scheib on behalf of Fairfield Residential. And tonight, Christopher Lucas and Michael Capuchetti with R.J. O'Connell and Paul Momney with Goulston Stores is online. Want me to go ahead and commence?
Please.
We met 2 weeks ago and we worked out a game plan. And thank you very much. Thank you, Bricolai. I think everything played out according to the dates that we had outlined. We responded to Beta Group's comments last Friday. At the prior meeting, what we said we would do is respond with all of the things that we had already addressed and then ask questions. But Michael went ahead and tackled those questions, and actually our response letter on Friday was complete.
Okay.
So then when we met with Beta Group, and I hope they're online because they'll obviously want to
Yes.
chime in. We met with Beta Group and Bricolai on Tuesday. Rather than the narrative be back and forth as in question and answer, it was more like we went through when we did go through all of the conditions, and this resulted in Beta Group's most recent letter, which I'm sure you've seen, which says that all of the comments have been addressed. We agree, and Beta Group drafted, I think, 9 conditions, recommendations to the commission. So since that time, we reviewed the standard special conditions, just to anticipate any, conversations tonight about the standard special conditions that you might choose to, apply to this project, plus the 9 conditions that Beta Group suggested. So we're here this evening, hopeful to reach closure, as we had outlined. Glad to discuss any of those conditions, and acknowledging that as we go through if there's any hiccups or, hurdles, we'd be amenable to continuing if necessary, if there's any conditions that we can't reach closure on. And then,
So, just question, so were the conditions discussed at the work session?
No, so we went through, that's actually a good clarifying question.
Okay.
So Mr. Scheit did ask to go through conditions, and I said that was not the right place to go through conditions
Okay.
or red line conditions, that discussion needed to happen in front of the commission.
Okay.
So we did not discuss conditions. We discussed what could be conditioned to make the process more efficient. What could still be what could we condition so the project could still be approved,
Right.
if that makes sense.
Okay.
I will note that Beta did provide their peer review response letter yesterday. I would like John to go through it, but there are a few things where partial comments remain. I have also outlined 3 comments in your agent report to discuss and consider conditioning. Mr. Scheib was gracious enough at this work session to say that he was amenable to continuing the hearing one more time to allow for you all to digest the information, to discuss these conditions, and then to give me time to draft said conditions.
Okay, I guess my question is, so just comment, so classically, in 14 years, we typically don't allow applicants to pick and choose words or red line standard conditions. The standard conditions was something that we worked on for the better part of 2.5 years to actually create and list such that people would have those up front when they were making projects. So that is not typically something that we would entertain, just being candid. However, modifications can come in the form of special conditions, right? Which basically would essentially, and if there's obviously if there's a conflict between a special condition and a regular condition, obviously that's a discussion we have. So I guess if you have specific issues with the standard conditions, could we go through those and could we talk about those? Because maybe there's like a special condition around whatever the issues are that you might have.
Sure. I actually just have one,
Okay.
which, by the way, most conservation commissions don't have such a list, and I think it's terrific that you do. It certainly makes it easier, so glad to know it. There's one condition that requires no more than 1 50-gallon fuel tank for refueling equipment.
Okay.
Ideally, we would ask that the tank be allowed to be larger, or maybe a tweak to that condition is that the refueling be outside of the 100-foot buffer. Because it's a large project, there's large equipment. Ideally, we would normally have a on-site refueling tank, and it would be located in accordance, you're familiar with the NIPD's regulations. They're pretty strict and require lots of protections. So that's just the one thing that if the commission could acknowledge, it might be a little bit easier for us to have the ability to refuel outside the 100-foot buffer or have a tank outside the buffer. We'd appreciate that. But
Okay.
You would put a tank out there, wouldn't you? Normally, you would just bring a fuel truck would come in, you hire whatever, he comes in and fuels up every week or something like that. So, but you want to put an on-site 100 fuel tank on the site, a diesel tank?
you're right that quite often it's a truck delivering fuel.
That's really a better option than having your own,
Yeah.
because you open up yourself to whole bunch of problems. If somebody leaves the thing open and you drain a bunch of diesel fuel out, it's not a good thing.
Right, yeah. So again, if it's something that the
All of a
commission,
sudden, anymore, usually we just have you contract with a fuel guy, and he comes on every day or every other day and fuels up.
right.
Fuels you up.
Sometimes we like to build the options in, but you're 100% correct that, you know, a fuel truck is also another method. So if that's not a commission, not a condition that you want to entertain any changes to, we're fine with it.
I mean, I'll take comments from the commission.
I'd much rather see a fuel truck come on site than the whole tank on site and things can go wrong. And
Yeah. Mr. Chair, you know what, we're fine with it.
Is that
We're
right?
fine with it. Yeah, I don't want to burden the
I
commission
mean,
with things like this.
it seems like a pretty small thing to be sticking over, frankly.
Yeah,
I mean, honestly, I mean, we want to move this along too, so,
Yeah, I've seen, you can put a tank up on stilts up there and you can drive every piece of equipment underneath it, but you just open yourself up for a major piece of heartache if something goes wrong.
yeah, we're fine with all of your
Yeah.
conditions, your
Okay.
standard.
okay.
Yeah, thanks. And I know that, I think, you decide which ones are applicable,
Yeah,
if not all of them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, I mean, we obviously present them to you.
Right,
obviously.
yeah.
I mean, clearly. So, comments?
And you wouldn't be needing him forever out there. I mean, the heavy earth moving would probably be here, and then you've got the building going on, you probably wouldn't need a lot of
You're exactly right.
fuel going on, and then you'd have that damn tank sitting over there,
Right.
just waiting to go bad.
Right, he's right. Comments?
Yes, at this time, Chair Livingstone, would you like Beta to go through their letter, or would you
Yes.
like my 3 outstanding comments?
Well, I think Beta first.
I would
and then-
prefer John
Yes.
to go, and then
Yeah.
I can piggyback.
Okay, John?
Sure. Good evening. So yes, we issued our third and final letter yesterday after our working session earlier this week, which was very productive. Basically, the letter that the applicant provided to the commission and to us prior to that working session to kind of serve as the agenda or discussion point. Nothing really materially needed to be changed about that letter based on our discussions in the meeting. I think at least on the stormwater side of things, the applicant's team addressed every comment that we had. There are a couple comments where the applicant provided a response and then it needed a bit of back and forth between our stormwater engineer and the applicant's team just to confirm we were on the same page. But at the end of the day, where it stands now in terms of stormwater is the project's in full compliance with the Mass Stormwater Standards. On the wetland side, we did the same. We went through all of their, responses as they were presenting them. We didn't really take issue with any of them. We felt that all of our comments were addressed. However, sort of the caveat to that, as you saw in the letter, is that we did, again, recommend, just for the commission's consideration, a handful of special conditions that we felt would ensure that the project is, fully in accordance and permittable under the Wetlands Protection Act. So what the applicant provided to kind of resolve some outstanding issues aside from stormwater management design changes was they provided a revised phasing and sequencing plan to incorporate some additional items and make it complete, including specific facets of mitigation activities. And they also provided the additional information we're looking for on the reconstruction of and daylighting of intermittent streams at the property. So our special conditions that we've recommended, I won't go through them verbatim now, but I'm happy to answer any questions on them, as they essentially capture, kind of these, I don't really want to call them outstanding things, but kind of these facets of the project that we feel would need some kind of condition or oversight from the commission and or agent to make sure that the project is in full compliance with the act and that the order of conditions represents a project that meets all applicable performance standards. So those special conditions include, kind of specific checkpoints or requirements for mitigation at the site. Sort of the methods of ledge removal around buildings 1 and 2 to ensure that any kind of ledge removal is limited to either small charge blasting or mechanical removal to eliminate the need for really substantial blasting at the closest points to wetlands at the site. And, just a few other handful of kind of long-term requirements, including, kind of things in terms of operation and maintenance with stormwater system management, as well as vegetation maintenance at the site. So all that said, happy to either hand it over to Rika Lai to expand on a couple of points that the commission may want to discuss in more detail. I believe there's 3 of them, or I'm happy to answer any questions on our letter.
Before that happens, I have one question. So, John, have you seen the additional suggested special conditions from Beta?
We have.
Okay, but you have 3 more points.
Yes, I have not drafted
You have not.
anything
Okay,
formally.
so again, I just want to understand what you have seen,
Yeah.
what you have not seen.
Yes, so
Okay.
to clarify, the conditions that Beta includes in their letter are recommendations. Those are not final special
Yes,
conditions.
yes.
So that is something that I draft. I usually provide several iterations of those conditions, and then the commission
Yes,
cherry picks,
yes.
and they change language, and they add their own. For example, this fuel tank discussion was very helpful, right?
Right.
So there's 3 points. One is noted in the Beta peer review letter. I just wanted to put it on the commission's radar. You should have already read Beta peer review letter. But to ensure compliance across all agencies and boards, my first comment is the applicant is proposing to disturb more than 1 acre of land. Therefore, notice of intent with EPA and a SWIP is required. To comply with the construction general permit, the contractor will be required to inspect erosion controls more frequently than identified in the comment that's referenced. I would like to seek some clarification from the applicant on record if they have a suggestion for how they're going to increase frequency for your contractor for inspection after 1 inch of rainfall to comply with the CGP, or if the commission would like to condition that frequency. And then I would suggest for a condition for this, that the applicant is required to provide the documentation of the NOI submitted to EPA and the SWIP prior to the start of work. But again, firmed up at the next meeting once conditions are drafted. If you don't have that information at this time, that's fine. If you could just get it to me before next Thursday, that would be great. My second comment is to discuss the phasing of construction as it relates to the replication area design. Wanted to put on the commission's radar that the applicant has requested that replication be designed after construction of buildings, roadways, things like that. 2 points on that. DEP generally doesn't prefer that. They would like replication areas constructed before, with leeway for access roads. Individuals need to get into the property access, right? They need their access roads. Additionally, the commission generally conditions that replication areas are constructed prior to construction of anything else. As we have seen recently, some applicants have come before us, to modify that phasing, and the commission has granted authority or granted a permit modification for the order of conditions to allow replication areas to be completed post-construction. I will note that I have not seen, and this is where I rely on your institutional knowledge, Chair Livingstone, the commission condition or relinquish that condition entirely, meaning that the commission generally conditions that the excavation exercise still occurs. So the digging, the grading, right, the actual excavation of the replication areas. So at the work session, I did ask for you to consider that. I don't know if you have discussed that yet, if you could provide feedback on that. If not, doesn't look like it, John.
Could you, don't interpret my looks as
That's okay.
in any other way.
Okay.
I'd ask you, I'm sorry, I don't understand the question.
Yep. So would you like one of your engineers or your wetland scientists to help you with that?
Do you guys understand the question? Okay, be careful answering a question if you're not 100% sure what the question is.
For the record, Mike Capichetti from Marjo O'Connell, civil engineer on the project. Breaker, I think you're asking if we can do the excavation prior to the fact, despite not putting in all the wetland features and everything
Perfect.
associated with it.
Yep.
In our meeting with Beta and some of the comments they had made previously, we had spoke about that same area is to be used as a temporary sediment basin during construction. And we are, that's our preference to use that. So we will be excavating that area to provide the temporary sediment basin during construction, and then we will be, replicating after the fact. And Beta and the stormwater engineer was amendable to that at the time. So that was our preference. And then if you had a chance to review Beta's suggestions, they had also listed something that we had proposed at that meeting where on recommended special condition 5, that the commission prior to the issuance of the first certificate of occupancy, that these materials should be provided, that materials being stated would be a letter from Chris Lucas and a plan from likely us or the surveyor showing that it was built in compliance. So this way, as he referenced last time, it's money and that he's being held back by him by that certificate of occupancy. And the reason we're still proposing that area to be the area for the temporary sediment basin is it's obviously one of the low points on the site, and we don't want to disturb anything upgrading of that because that would cause more disturbance to some of the buffer zones, the 100-foot to 25-foot. So since we're already going to be disturbing this area and then replicating it after, we wanted to maintain that area. So let me know if I
Perfect.
answered
Nope, that was great. Do you remember at the work session where I said I just needed you to provide some feedback on that on the record? That was perfect, Mike. I'm glad he
So
took
this
notes.
statement is,
He
true.
took
He's
notes.
gonna dig the thing, they're gonna
There
use
you
it as
go.
said basin, then they're gonna, at the end, they're gonna turn it in and vegetate it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So that's what I wanted the commission to hear from the applicant, right?
Sounds
Since
like a
this
good
goes
idea.
against generally what you condition. So thank you, Mike.
Yes.
That was great.
But I do think that is a reasonable compromise.
Yep.
All right.
I think, do we agree? That is a
Yep.
reasonable.
Perfect.
Yes.
All right, so then this brings me to my third point. Thanks
Okay.
again, Mike. So, I would like to call a spade and just acknowledge that the applicant, there's a good chance that the applicant is going to sell the property. So they will not remain the property owner or the property managers in perpetuity. So considering the extensive replication on site and what the applicant is proposing, I would like the I would like the commission to consider either conditioning signage for future property owners to refrain from encroaching on the replication areas or the meadow mix strip, in addition to other natively seeded areas. I would also recommend to the commission that you consider that they provide an O&M plan for property maintenance to ensure success of these areas prior to the certificate of occupancy. Or the start of work. I think the certificate of occupancy is fine. But I would still, ask the applicant to provide feedback on that. I did bring these issues up at the work session on Tuesday. Not sure if you've had time to consider these. But I think it's important to know for the commission and to set the expectation of how the replication areas are going to be protected in perpetuity, or these other natively seeded areas that you're considering restoration.
So, John, I just want to say, historically, again, going back years, there have been at least 2 cases I can recall where properties were flipped and there was no demarcation, and the people hired property maintenance, whatever, and they came out and sort of hacked through areas that were supposed to be left alone only because they had no idea. And then basically you're left after the fact with a big replication bill. So that the property purchasers, the acquirers, get angry because they didn't know, or they think they know, because they didn't actually go into the records.
Yeah.
So it is a good point, just to have something, to say, you know, this is the line not to cross, because again, I've seen this happen in the past, just saying.
Yeah, we're fine with that, and it's a good idea because I won't be there every day.
Right.
And the property management people, it's a different staff, whoever owns the property.
Right,
So a good and well-documented O&M plan is a great idea.
okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would suggest actually conditioning signage, and then for the commission, well, actually, I would suggest for somebody on your project team to provide just locations of these signage.
Is that reasonable?
You want, sure.
It
We'll-
could be
we'll-
provided after the fact, that's
Okay,
fine,
okay.
just a condition of approval.
Yep, sounds
Okay.
great.
Okay, all right.
So,
Okay.
I am finished, so I'll defer back to the
Okay,
commission.
anything else, guys? No, anything?
I think the only other thing
Yes?
we had talked about, I think we kind of got to it when John was discussing the ledge situation, right? I think we're all in agreement as to what the initial approach would be. Microblast being probably the most, aggressive. But if they come across a situation where they're going to need more drastic measures, that they come back before us to talk that through. Or I was reading the comment in here, John. I don't know if you want to elaborate on that, but I mean, we're hoping that everything we're approving here, or looking at, I guess, conditioning will handle what you encounter in the ledge situation. But in case it doesn't, maybe we just clear up how we're going to condition that.
Was that to me, John,
Yeah,
Mark?
that
or-
was-
Yeah,
We're
I'm
both
sorry.
John.
Yeah, John Nero. I forget we
Okay.
got two
That's
Johns
okay.
here.
Yeah, so basically, what we discussed was, just for the, Mark was there, but just for the rest of the commission's knowledge, there's very good chance that the applicant and developer will hit ledge when constructing this project. What we were specifically were concerned about was the ledge located closest to the wetlands behind proposed buildings 1 and 2. The reason being is because any substantial blasting, in our experience, really raises a great risk of, fracturing bedrock, draining groundwater, etc., having, unanticipated impacts to the adjacent wetlands. So the applicant kind of took a closer look at this based on their test pit data, kind of interpolated where they thought the ledge was going to be when constructing those walls near buildings 1 and 2, closest to the wetland, and determined that, the removal they're anticipating isn't huge. So they think they're going to be able to accomplish it either mechanically, through hoe ramming or another method like that, basically hammering away at it, or if they need to, very small charges, to basically just loosen up that top layer of ledge without, fracturing it deep into the ground and having other implications. So the idea is the commission could permit or condition them to go about it that way at that specific area of the site. And if that proves to be infeasible or inadequate for the depth they need to achieve to put their walls in, they would then need to stop, come back to the commission, review what they uncovered for existing conditions, and review their approach to resolve it, and likely receive an amended order of conditions before they continue with that work.
There you go. Thanks, John.
Yep.
All good.
Isn't
Yeah.
that's what we've discussed, in either microblasting or mechanical.
Hoe ramming, absolutely, yes.
Microblasting
Yeah.
is pretty good.
Yeah.
Just more throwing the option in there if they need something more dramatic. We'll discuss it. That was it. So, okay. Thanks.
So I think we pretty much covered everything, yes?
Yes, unless you had any other discussions for conditions, I can draft
Is
what we
I
discussed
like it, I think
and
Okay.
have it ready for
We're in a
you
good
next time.
spot.
John, we're good?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Bricolai had 3 items. The first one was a question?
The first one was about you're disturbing more than 1 acre of land, therefore notice of intent with EPA and a SWIP is required, so to comply with the CGP. You would need to inspect erosion controls more frequently than than what you previously identified. So I asked for you to go back to the drawing board, review your frequency, and respond back in compliance with the CGP. Otherwise, I offered it to the commission to condition.
Make it a condition.
That, perfect, yeah, thank you for reiterating that question. You want to speak to that, Michael?
Just to follow up, I don't think that's not an issue. I think the
Okay.
CGP usually calls out after every quarter-inch rain
Yep.
or bi-weekly,
Yep.
and now it would be weekly is what they would be requesting, basically,
Perfect.
regardless weekly, no matter the rainfall.
Perfect. Could you just send that to me in an email, please, Michael?
Yes,
so I
not a
can have
problem.
it for the record.
Not a
Thank you.
problem then.
Closure.
Okay,
Good job,
okay,
Michael.
Right, okay, so I think we're good, but you still have to write the,
Yes, I still have to write them.
she still has
yes.
to write them,
So,
we have to continue this.
I am going to go back to this meeting and listen to all of your comments and write them.
Right.
That's what I do. That is my writing exercise.
Sorry, John.
I thought you already had.
Oh, that's okay.
Oh, I
okay.
did. Yes, I
You want to pull it
I
down?
would have loved to close, because I think we're totally there, it's just, she's gotta do the,
No, Mr. Chairman,
Yeah,
to have discussed, sorry,
No, it's okay, John.
to have discussed the conditions and we're moving forward, much appreciated.
okay.
If
but-
we had it written, we'd vote yes, right?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think so, yes, guys? I think we're all good, yeah? So, yeah, just, thanks for working with us, we really appreciate it.
Yep, thank you. And my team, questions or comments outlined? Paul, online,
Yeah, I just have one, Chairman, members of the commission, Paul Momney at Golson Stores. I just had one quick question. If we could get, I know there's going to be a sort of menu of proposed special conditions that Ms. Goodlander will prepare. If we could just take a look at those before the next hearing so that we can be prepared if we have any
Yes.
questions or comments,
Yes, of course,
provide feedback.
yes, of course, of course.
I
Yeah,
can
we
have
got all
those
the ones we picked,
Yes.
ready
so
by next Thursday. So it's just the same,
Yeah.
same schedule, but
They're
for
standard
Yeah,
ones.
yeah.
Fantastic,
Okay,
thank you.
yeah. We would want that, we would want that,
right, thanks, yeah,
yeah, transparency. Okay.
terrific.
Yeah. Okay, does anyone in the audience or anyone online have any comments about this project before we continue? No? Okay. There being none, I will take a motion to continue.
Okay, you caught me off guard there. I'll give you a motion to continue the NOI for 121 Grove Street to May 30th, 7:02 PM, one last time.
Second.
Vote to continue.
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 abstain.
Mark? Okay, continue. Thank you, John. Thank you, team.
Okay.
Thanks, guys.
Likewise, thank you.
Okay. Okay, next I'd like to open up the meeting for the NOI for the Beaver Pond hydro raking. Is anyone here from Beaver Pond?
No, Chair Livingstone, they did request a continuance, but for transparency, I'll just provide a
Sure.
brief update. So if the commission recalls, we were discussing if the hydro raking was considered dredging via DEP or not. Since we last met, DEP did provide a file number with comments. Comments, there were 2 of them. I'll read them into the record. How frequently will hydro raking be performed under this NOI? One time only, annually, another frequency. The applicant should evaluate whether hydro raking is an appropriate technique for controlling the target plant species, particularly fanwort. A barrier should be installed to control the migration of plant fragments and turbidity from the hydro raking area into adjacent areas of Beaver Pond. The second comment was the project involves dredging amounts greater than 100 cubic yards of sediment from the land underwater and will require a 401 water quality certification. So Brooke Morganelli from DEP did provide a letter back to Brooke Morganelli from DPW provided a letter back to DEP, and DEP responded and said, in our experience, hydro raking results in more than an inch of sediment removed from the lake bottom throughout the area of work. In addition, dredged volume estimates should account for the volume of material generated throughout the life of the project. So for the commissioner's knowledge, one order of condition lasts for 3 years. It can be extended up to 3 times for 3 years each time. That is at the commission's discretion, but the top threshold of that is 12 years for a permit lifespan. So this project has dredged material in the past with a cumulative volume likely to have already exceeded 100 cubic yards and proposed multiple occurrences in the future. If you still believe that your project will not require 401 water quality certification for dredging, please provide an estimate of dredge material from Solitude Lake Management for the life of the project. So Brooke has reached out to Solitude Lake Management to receive some more information on scope of work, alternatives to be had aside from hydro raking. And then at my recommendation, she is starting to look at a 401 water quality certification. For transparency purposes, I did suggest DPW just start looking at that anyways, as that is the finish line, right? You know, that's collector 200 and go straight. So she is Brooke that is looking into those options and has just requested a continuance to hear back. It's very possible that Solitude Lake Management will be able to provide a means and methods that would not require 401 water quality certification. So more on that, and I would recommend a continuance.
Okay. Does anyone in the commission have any questions, comments? Are there any comments or questions from the audience, either here in office or online? No? Okay, then I will take a motion to continue.
I'll give you a motion to continue the NOI for Beaver Pond Hydro Raking to May 30th at 7:03 p.m.
Second?
Okay.
Vote to continue.
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 Stay.
Mark?
Continue.
Continue. Thank you very much. Okay. Now I'd like to open up the hearing for the ANRAD for Louise Drive Extension.
Good evening, Tim Tuhig from Dupree Engineering. So since our last meeting, we had the peer review comments from Beta, and Bricolai went out to the site to walk the wetland edge and do the edge verification. We received Beta's comments back. There were a couple of flag revisions, there were a couple of missing flags on site, and they also were questioning the nature of the stream in the B-series wetland, whether it was perennial or intermittent. All signs were pointing that it was an intermittent stream, but just to have some, like a rigorous testing protocol just to confirm that. And then the peer review letter also confirmed one of the questions that DEP had asked, whether the two wetlands were connected. And so if you recall, there was two different wetland series on site. They were flagged as separate wetlands. And Beta confirmed that those wetlands were separated. So there is a IVW on site and then a BVW as well. For the perennial versus intermittent stream, I ran the USGS stream stats protocol, and that did confirm that it is an intermittent stream, which was not a surprise. And then this past Tuesday, Beta, myself, and Bricolai met on site to walk the line. I replaced the flags that were missing. I looked at the areas that they suggested to revise some of the flags. I was in agreement with that. And then we also hung stream bank flags to show that those on the plan. So we want to have those flags surveyed just so that they're as accurate as possible for the final plan. So we're going to submit that final plan most likely next week, and then we should be set for an approval hopefully for the next meeting. So we do ask for it to continue for one more.
Mm-hmm. Anything?
Yeah, just one follow-up comment. Thank you, Tim. I wanted to confirm with the commission the reason why we need the plan is for the ORAD. So we need a stamped, dated,
Yes.
finalized plan.
Yes.
That is why.
Yes. Okay, understood. Yes. Yes. Any comments from the audience? Anybody online? Okay, take a motion to continue.
I'll give you a motion to continue the ANRAD for Louise Drive Extension to May 30th, 7:04 p.m.
Second?
Okay,
Vote to continue.
Continue?
continue.
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 Mark?
Continue.
Continue. Thank you very much. Thanks.
Thank you.
Now I'd like to open up the NOI for Tri-County Regional Vocational Technical High School.
Steve is
Good evening.
online.
Yep, can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. Am I speaking loud enough? I know there was a.
It's okay,
an
it's
issue
okay.
with
It's
the
not
audio.
usually, it's okay.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
We'll be very quiet.
So good evening, everyone. Say that again?
It will be very quiet. Go ahead.
Okay. So it's good to be back in front of everybody again. Again, Steve Powers from Semiotis Consultants, we're the civil engineer for the project. We wanted to appear in front of you tonight. We had continued the last hearing as we received the comments, the stormwater peer review comments from Beta, as well as the wetlands comments from Jonathan. We needed time to digest them and start to take a look at our design, our stormwater design especially, and then get into the wetlands replication area design and figure out, what we needed to do and what we needed to change on site. If I could just share my screen. I just want to refresh the commission's memory. All right. Let me know if you can see the
Yep.
see my screen. Okay, great. So just a couple of slides I want to revisit from the 18th. Jeff Pilat from our office covered the hearing for me, and it sounded like it was a good introductory hearing to the commission. So want to take this opportunity to just kind of show you the stormwater again and what we're proposing, including the proposed building area, and especially where we're looking at doing the wetlands replication and preserving some of that, the local jurisdictional resource areas that we had gone through during the ANRAD process and got in the ORAD 4. So I just want to shift. So if you recall, the building is being proposed in the area of the solar field. We went through a number of hearings with the commission and Bricolai to discuss what we weren't expecting, but the local jurisdictional wetlands, which were former stormwater basins. We're calling them 1 and 2, as shown here. As part of our plan and our design, we do realize that we are filling in these local jurisdictional wetlands, or proposing to do so. So we wanted to, one, just kind of, again, revisit, see if the commission had any questions regarding the entirety of the design, but also show a draft of what we're proposing for the wetlands replication plan. Mike Howard from Epsilon was hired. He's going to be our wetlands consultant, our environmental consultant. We've had meetings with Bricolai and Jonathan regarding the wetlands portion of it. We've had a work session with them. We've had a work session with the stormwater management team from Beta as well. We do have one scheduled tomorrow morning as well. They were able to fit us in. We had a couple final thoughts and questions we wanted to make sure we're addressing prior to resubmission. But the one thing I did want to show the commission was essentially our scheme and what we're proposing. Bricolai and Jonathan seemed to think we were on the right track as well. So just to revisit the area, which was that southwest basin, we did agree that if you recall, we reconfigured the building and then the paving areas of the driveway and some of the parking areas around it to preserve as much of that southwest basin as possible. I think out of all the wet areas that were within that solar field, this one had the potential to have the most value of those jurisdictional wetlands. So we are looking to preserve that and maintain it through our construction. We did discuss the possibility, we're showing sort of an extension out further from the area to be preserved, which is the existing wetlands here. We are proposing to fill in this neck of it up to the north and the west with sort of uplands plantings through here. I think the commission and Bricolai and Jonathan thought, what we were looking to do was, preserve what is out there, not mess with it, and hopefully it continues to flourish, not only as a resource area But as an outdoor classroom, I think that was something that the Superintendent McGuire and Bricolai had discussed on one of our initial site walks. So this is very close to the school. We'd obviously be proposing measures to protect it throughout construction, but also protect it post-construction, so it can be a learning environment for the kids as well as a functioning, isolated resource area. So that is one.
Quick
Does anyone
question.
have any questions on that? Sure.
What's the distance from the wetland to the school building?
That is about 25 feet,
Okay, thank you.
might be 20.
It's a walk, a short walk.
Any others?
Any other-
Before I move on?
No.
Okay. So the other one is a little bit more involved and advanced. This is the southeast corner of the property, southeast corner of the building is located here. There is an existing depression that during the course of investigation by both Beta and our wetland scientists, determined that this was not a resource area, even though it did have some semblance of hydric soils and of hydric plantings as well. What we're looking to do is create a wetlands replication area through here, which is going to be about, as it's shown here, it's about 8,000 square feet, give or take. And we are looking at a mounded system through here. So we're essentially, we would be constructing this, excavating out to get to grades, installing a liner as well as wetlands soil that can, essentially promote, the growth of, wetlands plantings, and construct these mounds, which we would be putting essentially these same type of wetlands plantings on it to promote, growth and a wetlands environment to replicate the areas that we are filling. So as it is now, with counting, there's about 2,200 square feet of that local jurisdictional wetlands that we're filling here, as well as about 4,000 feet, which is to the north and west, that basin entirely, and 8,000 that we're creating here. It's about a 1.3 to 1 ratio right now. And, we wanted to discuss this and just show it to the commission, as a draft, get its comments, and then see if, the ratio that we are proposing to fill and then replicate in this area would be acceptable. And as part of this plan, we would have a, planting and seed table that I'm sure Bricolai and Beta would want to review, and as well as our kind of our conditions, our notes, as well as the construction sequence on how to build this. So it would be one plan that would capture, the construction of this one particular area, be a standalone plan. So we make sure we get the contractor to understand everything is on one plan, and we can refine it. We do have Mike Howard on board as the environmental consultant, coordinate with Bricolai and Beta, and make sure that this is done correctly and it lasts and it fulfills the intent of what we're trying to do. This is the last part before I turn it back over to the commission. This is essentially a section view through that wetlands replication area. So essentially, we would have a liner, and the reason for the liner is it's a relatively shallow area spread over a good amount of area horizontally, but not vertically. So we wanted to be able to capture and hold water throughout the year. So we would be installing or proposing to install a liner and then planting the wetland soils and creating the mounds as you see here. And that's essentially what the basics of what we're looking to do. Mike was not able to join us tonight. He has something for his kid is getting an award, but I'm sure he could speak a little bit more eloquently about our strategy than I.
Okay.
any questions, I'm happy to go through any of the other slides too regarding the totality of the site as well.
Hi, Steve Bricolai. I just have one question for you to confirm again.
Sure.
Since we missed you at the last meeting, and that is not a slight. Did we actually include the salamander crossings at the vernal pool?
That, which was
Just under the road.
at this?
Yeah.
Yes, we do not have that in there. I wanted to make sure that we had the vast majority of it before we get into the details.
No,
and
that
we
makes
can certainly
sense.
Put that in for sure.
You know, small details,
Yeah.
but clearly what I'm most
You-
excited about, so.
Yes. You get it. And with this being a very specific plan, we can very specifically call that out. So,
Okay. Well, with that, for the commission, as Steve said, we do have a stormwater meeting tomorrow at 10. It's just remote. Steve just wanted to firm up some details with Matt Crowley with Beta, doing the stormwater review. So I would hope that we would have more information, I presume, by the next meeting, or a response anyways, by the next meeting. Correct, Steve?
you will have a response next week. There's obviously a lot that goes into it. This is a large site. There's a lot of challenges, site constraints. One of the more difficult parts, having done this for quite a number of years, is with it being a redevelopment where there's a certain amount of credits you can take as you develop your system in your design. There's also decisions that need to be made that are, they're not as clear cut as new construction. That's what I found. So they become a lot more difficult. And on top of that, the phasing to make sure that the campus is continuing to operate with kids going to school, because this is essentially a 3-year project once it gets going. So there is a lot to it. We want to make sure we're designing it properly. We're keeping budget in mind for the school, as well as the requirements that we need to go through for, with the commission, as well as the planning board and the other jurisdictional agencies that we need to go through.
Okay. You think we can wrap it up next time?
I was seeking a response, but whenever you can get to it, Steve, is fine, and being cognizant of budget as well, so.
Okay, any other questions? No questions?
I have a question. So I think you mentioned replication was 1.3 to 1. Generally, we were looking for a 2 to 1. Is that a possibility?
So it certainly is a possibility. We are looking for, and I can't recall the ability or for the commission to grant a variance to this. So I do understand that 1.3 to 1 is not 2 to 1. It is a little bit less. We can certainly expand it. I don't think in this current scenario we're looking at it 2 to 1, and really the areas of that we're replicating and recreating, these wetlands. So we would be asking for a variance at this time to see if the commission would grant or be willing to consider something like this.
I think if we had the salamander crossing,
Yeah.
we're good.
Yeah, well, also
Yes.
it's an educational thing at the school. I think that's a big plus.
How big is the salamander crossing?
It would just be like a little
A little,
culvert under
yeah.
the ground,
Yeah.
yes. And as I stated last time, whether or not they use it, it is an educational
educational thing,
component,
yeah,
right?
exactly.
I may dream in the clouds, but I do live in reality. So, Commissioner Ryan, that's a good question. Steve, would you be able to demonstrate for the commission some of the other things that you were doing in lieu of replication, like any native plantings, signage, things of that nature, or perhaps Karen could as well, because Chair Livingstone, you bring up a good point, right? So there are these other green infrastructure or these other, in the spirit of
Yes.
replication,
Yes.
if that makes sense. So they did include a variance request, and I
Right.
just
And-
wanted
and
that we
again-
consider invasive species management plans, right?
Right.
And the
Well,
replication
no,
for other
again-
projects, so I wanted
Yeah.
to give them the same opportunity to present.
Right, so again, historically, when their sites have been very tight, where there's been very, very limited options, just because that's how it is, people have come back with creative, additional opportunities, to enhance the site conservationally, that may not be within the 2-to-1 ratio. And we have many times, given them variances for that, because they come to us in the spirit of conservation, understanding that it's not to the quote standard that we typically do. So there is that history and precedent.
Good.
One follow-up question, and for the record, this is a replication of IVWs, not BVW.
Right.
Otherwise, DEP, under the Wetlands Protection Act, would be 1-to-1 required for
Right,
BVW, so
correct.
this is purely living in the world of local jurisdiction.
Right, correct. Right. Okay. Anything else, guys? Anything else? Any
I'm
other
good.
questions? Mark, any questions? No?
Good job, Steve. Thank you.
I was gonna open
All
up,
right,
yes.
thank you.
Any questions from the audience or any questions online? Yes, please.
Marjorie Turner Holman with Bellingham, but I'm here for other things. But question, I love the idea of the salamander crossing. Does that also make room for turtles?
Sized it could, but the reason why it's specific to salamanders or frogs is because of the nature of the probable vernal pool that's at that area. So a turtle wouldn't necessarily be at that vernal pool, but a salamander and a frog would.
So it's a salamander habitat, not necessarily turtle habitat, yes.
Correct.
Okay.
MBCR requires them, so that's why we're checking.
Okay. That sounds
Okay,
All right.
thank you.
We
Anything
won't deny the turtles access.
No.
Turtles will not be denied.
Yeah, is that's a good question. Do they get exclusive access?
I'm sorry, go ahead, say again.
Is it exclusive access for the turtles? Because the turtles, like you said, all of them will be welcome in there. It's just the specific salamander crossing, I think, would be exclusive to salamanders.
It would, and the location of the new school is not within a distance of where turtles would reside.
Yeah.
There are no deep ponded areas around there, right? It is
Oh,
true, turtles can go up to 1,000 linear feet from their home pond, something to consider for the 100-foot buffer zone, but I'll get off that tangent.
Okay.
Not specific to this site. Yes.
Okay. Unlikely, okay. Anything else? Anybody online? No? Okay, I'll take a motion to continue.
I'll give you a motion to continue the NOI for Tri-County Regional Vocational Technical High School to May 30th at 7:05.
Second.
Okay,
Vote to continue.
Continue?
continue.
Continue.
Steve?
Mark? Mark, did you say? Can't
I
hear you.
gotta say continue, yep.
Okay, okay.
Yep.
Continue. Thank you very much. Thank you, guys.
All right, thank you. Talk to you next time.
Thanks, Steve.
Yeah, we did.
Okay. Now I'd like to open up the NOI for the Prospect Street Access Drive. And I believe there are people here for Prospect Street, yes? Or are they show? Yes,
Might I just make one housekeeping comment?
please.
So, I have not heard back from DEP on the superseding order of conditions.
Okay,
The commission is still operating, under the, directive from DEP to receive public comment but not provide feedback. So all this public comment is going right to DEP. I have yet to receive a notice of intent, from the applicant, Mr. Petrosi, filing under local bylaw. He also has yet to pay the legal ad fee. So I just wanted to put that into record.
so question, so if, a point of process,
Yep,
if we haven't actually received
yep.
an NOI for the local, is there anything to open for discussion?
Just under the superseding order for the notice of intent that he went to DEP for.
Okay,
So we're still having public hearings under that notice of
Okay,
intent.
right. So then it is kosher to ask for public comment, as you say,
Correct.
but we do not discuss because of the superseding order, correct?
Correct, that is
I
correct.
just wanted to make sure that was the case.
I had considered earlier today actually to reach back out to DEP at the 2-month mark to see if they still wanted us to open the public hearings for comments. You know, and definitely I'm not sure when they get to the superseding order. So
Right.
that is something that I'm working on the back end so I can provide, you know, more direction at the next meeting.
Okay, so, again, just to provide the audience for clarity, we cannot discuss this project amongst ourselves at this time because of the superseding order that we have under the DEP. But that doesn't mean that we can't take comments from the public. So the mics are open, and the audiences, either online or in chambers, are welcome to approach and provide comment on the project, if anybody wishes to do so.
Is this for the Prospect Street?
Yes.
Yes.
Just all I ask is please talk into the mic because that's how we take our minutes.
Certainly. Okay, again, Marjorie Turner Holman with Bellingham. And one of our concerns is the Prospect Street. I know you're not concerned with traffic, but there has been no public safety police, any warnings for people who are traveling on Prospect Street. The project owners have provided no safety for, they're using the street as a, putting supplies on the road, so there's people that are having to go all the way around with no warnings. They're offloading materials onto the street. They're not taking them off the road. They're also doing clearing that you're probably aware of without permission. There's no tire wash station, and there is absolutely no silt capture going on. So we just want to bring that up for your awareness and to keep an eye on things. We who are neighbors here are hearing clearing constantly. Nothing has been approved. Clearing is going on, and we just want to make sure you know that there are eyes on the ground, but we need your support to keep an eye on things. So, thank you.
Please, we're not talking about the project, I'm just pointing out the obvious. It's always complicated in projects. This is just a general comment. It's always very difficult when you have projects that span multiple jurisdictions.
Yep.
So we have to rely on the auspices, the good auspices that we have with adjoining towns.
Right.
And obviously, I think, if I may, Break has done a great job in reaching out to our adjoining sister towns and increasing the communication and transparency between us and them.
You all have
Just-
done a great job.
Just in cases like this where
Yep.
clearly if we can't work with the town, nothing gets done.
That's why several of us neighbors from Bellingham are here.
Right.
We've had people from Franklin at the Bellingham meetings. We're very grateful
Right.
and
And likewise,
really
we're grateful
appreciative.
for your interaction because obviously it helps everyone, right?
No, we're very concerned about project progress going on without approvals.
Right.
So we just want to be some more ears and eyes and
Right.
appreciate your receptiveness. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Any other comments? No? I mean, we can't comment, so any further public opinion or comments? Please.
No, that's fine.
Okay,
Oh,
go ahead,
sorry.
please.
Hi, Krista Leon Cavallo. I live on Oxford Drive off Prospect. Want to thank our neighbors from Bellingham for coming. I would echo everything that's been shared. Drive down Prospect every day on my way to work, to drop my kids off at school. And it would seem that this project is going to go the route of asking for forgiveness instead of permission. And I think everyone in this room can appreciate that forgiveness when it comes to the environment is not very forgiving. So what's being destroyed right now, as we speak, I just hope that you will consider, and I know related to the violation, that if this kind of damage continues to be done and they come later, it'll be a drop in their pocket from a violation perspective because the environment will be gone. So I just hope that you would consider that. It's a beautiful area. We love living there, and it's getting demolished as we speak. So just want you to consider. Thank you.
I wanted a side comment to what you had said earlier, the first person. Please understand that if indeed there are issues of public safety, that's outside obviously the jurisdiction here. But I can't speak for Bellingham, but I can speak for Franklin. And I can tell you that in this town, as far as I've seen, I've been here for almost a quarter century, people take public safety extremely seriously.
We have called the police.
So I'm just saying, so when it comes to like people dropping things on the road and blocking roads and blocking access and things like that, you know, you start saying like, well, you know, if someone has a heart attack and there's an ambulance has to get in or something like this, right? I mean, this is what public safety considers. Obviously, when we look at our planning zone looks at its plans, for example, right? Fire truck access, ambulance access, things of that nature are key components of planning design and are absolutely incorporated into anything that's done. Again, taken very seriously. Again, in Franklin, I don't know Bellingham, but I can tell you here it is. So if something like that is going on the Franklin side, I would encourage anyone to report it as a matter of public safety.
That's what we're doing.
Thank you. Okay. Are there any further comments?
There are online. I don't know if I'm audible.
Yes.
We can hear you.
Okay, one sec. We have one person in chambers.
Mr. Chairman, Lou Petrosi, Wall Street Development Corp.
Yes.
I understand from the conversation that you may be talking about this enforcement order that you might have. Is that correct, or are you talking on something else?
No, I'm not talking about any.
Okay. I reserve my comments then when we get to that point.
Right, no, we're not there yet. Thank you. Someone online had a comment?
Yes, comment from Bellingham. This is in a butter, and we would like John Holman in Bellingham. We're in a butter to the project. We would like the town of Franklin to be aware, as I think was just brought up, that there has been ongoing land clearing, specifically removal of trees, brush, and possibly wetland species within what we believe to be town of Franklin properties. We have observed this in the vicinity of the proposed roads that are currently under dispute, the access road. We have observed this along property lines that we believe either abut or appear to infringe on the 100 and 200 foot buffer zones on wetlands. Some of these wetlands run through the town of Franklin. We wanted to bring this to the attention of Franklin, as has been done with the town of Bellingham. Furthermore, these activities, which we believe are unpermitted, to the best of our knowledge, we have not observed any environmental controls in the form of silt socks, catch basins, hay bales, or the like, which would normally be required. So these may be having detrimental impact to wetlands, which are partly in the town of Franklin. I want to note that these wetlands feed the Peters River, which is a protected watershed and is also drawn from by the town of Franklin drinking wells. Other things that would normally be required of a contractor would include a tire wash station before vehicles leave the work site. Since 2021, there has been none on this site. There has been probably hundreds of truck trips leaving the collective Franklin and Bellingham land clearing sites. I believe all of these trucks have exited through town of Franklin property and driven on town of Franklin roads. And then finally, for future reference, when it comes time to look at the groundwater retention and capture from stormwater runoff, it's my understanding from reading Mr. Petrosi's comedy submittals that they've asked for a waiver for certain conditions that Bellingham requires. I don't know if Franklin would require them. Specifically, in a protected water resource area, there's a 48-inch separation between the vertical groundwater level and the proposed detention basin, the base of the basin. And the idea is to prevent mixing. I believe the proposed documents for construction ask for a waiver of that and call for a 24-inch separation. I would like to flag that for the town of Franklin to consider in any future review of proposed roads, basins, or development on the Franklin side of the property. That concludes my comments.
Thank you. Are there any other further comments from the audience, either here or online? Okay. Anything? No? So I'll take a motion to continue.
I'll give you a motion to continue the NOI for Prospect Street Access Drive to May 30th at 7:07 p.m.
Second.
Vote to continue.
Continue?
Continue?
Continue.
Continue.
Mark?
Continue.
Continue, thank you. And thank you everyone for coming forward with your comments. Now I'd like to open up the hearing for the NOI for Veterans Memorial Drive.
Thank you, Chair Livingstone. I did receive an account number on Monday, so I told Beta that they are good to go to begin stormwater review, so we're just working through that. The applicant, DPW, and then the representative G&H did request a continuance since we're just waiting.
Okay, all right. Any questions about this? No?
Oh, sorry, I did have one
Oh, yes, please, sorry.
additional, no, that was my bad. Additional comment to put in the record. We did get a DEP comment. It's minor in nature. It states, noting that IBWs are not jurisdictional under the Wetlands Protection Act, Mass DEP still recommends the use of appropriate sedimentation barriers during replication area construction in order to prevent sedimentation of adjacent IBWs.
Right. There it is.
All standard.
Right, okay. Any comments from the commission? Any comments from the public, either in chambers or online? There being none, I'll take a motion to continue.
I'll give you a motion to continue the NOI for Veterans Memorial Drive to May 30th at 7:07 p.m.
Second?
Vote to continue.
Continue.
Continue?
Continue.
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 Mark?
Continue.
Continue, thank you. Okay. Now I'd like to open up the hearing for the NOI for Fisher Street Wells 2, 2A, and 2B.
Thank you, Chair Livingstone. We have not received a DEP file number yet. Just to confirm with the commission that it was required to be filed with DEP considering bordering land subject to flooding.
Okay.
I did let Doug Martin know that we're still waiting on a file number. He's going to bug DEP, but he also reiterated again that there is no rush, so
Okay.
all is well.
All right, okay, right. Right. Okay. No comments? Comments? Comments from the public? No?
I'll give you a motion to continue the NOI for Fisher Street Wells 2, 2A, and 2B to May 30th, 7:08 p.m.
Second?
Vote to continue.
Continue?
Continue?
Continue.
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 Mark?
Continue.
Continue, thank you. Okay, I'd like to open up the hearing for the NOI for 55 Constitution Boulevard.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, thank you very much. Just for the record, I noticed you said NOI, this is just an ANRAD at this point.
Sorry. Go ahead.
And we can go right to the NOI.
No.
I didn't bring those drawings.
Yeah, no, yep, okay, yep.
My name's Todd Morey. I'm principal at Beals Associates. We are the project engineers and general permitting consultants for the proponent here. I've also got Tyler Lepshansky from my office with me. In the back, we have Boomer Repco and Jeffrey Sullivan from Northbridge Partners. They're the applicant and owner of this property. So as you know, this property is 55 Constitution Boulevard here in Franklin. Hopefully if I step away a little bit, you can still hear it through the mic. Just to give you a little bit of context on where the property is, it's the Dell EMC office building formerly occupied this. Northbridge has now purchased the property and they're the current owners. Off to the left side of the plan right here, King Street, if you go kind of down and to the right side, you hit Route 495, and then back in this area, which we'll talk about in just a moment. What we've done is we've identified 3 individual resource areas across the property. They were, when we first started looking at this under a due diligence process for our clients, we noticed somebody had been out there and flagged up the property quite a bit. We did see some indications right in here that led us to believe it was probably Ecotech that had done it in about September of 2023. Okay. What we did is we went around, did soil augers of each of their flags around there just to see if I agreed with them, disagreed with them, wanted to move them around or not. We ended up not moving them. So those are the same flags that they had hung out there. And there's a blue series of flags here around the stormwater basin. And there's another series of flags up here around this IVW, ILSF that I'd like to talk about because it may go a couple of different directions. So we'll start on this side of the property. There's a fairly large stormwater basin that you can see right here. That stormwater basin was built pre-1996 and it was built to support the overall Franklin Industrial Park. There's a lot of different inputs into it. It does come across the corner of the property. We've characterized this as BVW, okay, with the associated buffer zones. Coming off the corner of this parking lot, there's also 2 stormwater pipes. There's another large stormwater pipe that comes up through here, and there's some other points that go in. Central to the property is a little bit more of an interesting wetland. If you go back and you look at some of the USGS maps from the 50s, 40s, and even further back, there actually used to be some kind of a stream that came all the way through and connected up to Dix Brook. It looks like that stream was filled completely when the industrial park was built. Whether that was a perennial stream or an intermittent stream, I'm not really sure. If you go on Stream Stats now and try to hit this, it just doesn't pick it up because that was a historic thing. What you can do is after you look at this wetland area, there's a short culvert that connects these two. There's more wetlands that extend up in this area here. And you can see the remnants of a connection down to Dix Brook. That's why we've called that BVW as well. So both of these eventually make their way down there. And we have no problem conceding that that's BVW. This is the one that is a little bit more interesting to me. Originally, I thought it was just an isolated wetland pocket. It appears that way. It looks like it's completely surrounded by our development here, fire station, there's a residential or a business property here, and you have King Street, and then you have the access road to the senior living. And it looks like that held it in. But again, the same thing, if you walk on the other side of King Street and go off in there a little bit, there is a stream down in that area. And I've looked for a connection to see if there is a connection. I haven't found one. That's why right now we're saying it's IVW. And it also has characteristics for isolated land subject to flooding. So we believe it's both of those. If through your review, Rika's review, Beta's review, we find a connection down to that stream, we don't have a problem calling that BVW either. So those are the 3 areas that we have found on site. We understand that this will go to peer review. That's anticipated, and certainly have no problem with that. At this point, I guess, questions, comments? I think this one's fairly straightforward.
Any questions? Any questions? No? Questions? Mark, anything? Mark?
Pretty straightforward, as he said, yeah, good.
Yeah.
Pretty good?
Yeah, I think it's straightforward because he's done a lot of the legwork already.
Right.
They say so.
What, just out of curiosity, was the Ecotech flagging, while the still under the same owners? Is
No.
there a different- No. So this
No,
is before the.
I'm not sure if it was even for these owners.
Oh.
It may have been,
Oh, for
I don't
some-
know,
oh.
I don't know if these folks were thinking of something, or,
I see.
it's not really
I
clear
see.
because, it does go way off.
Oh,
It
okay.
continues even further
Ah.
than what we have.
Okay.
And just another note, so same thing with the flags here,
Yeah.
around this basin, and then the flags out here around this isolated area. So the only thing we're seeking confirmation of through this ANRAD are the flags that are actually on the property, and then, of course, their associated buffers.
Of course, okay.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. Oh, go ahead. No, it's fine.
Just a question, it looks like the green is flowing into paved areas. Is that,
Here?
yes.
It does. It
So
does.
the
Those are
wetland-
the buffer zones. Yeah.
Ah, okay.
So this wetland actually comes right up, there's a retaining wall back here that supports the access drive that comes through to the rear of the office building. That wetland goes right up to the edge of that retaining wall. And then the buffers do spill off into the pavement. So you are correct.
Yep, so 2 comments. One, I just wanted to note that under local bylaw, there's a buffer zone to ILSF anyways, which
Right.
is the IBW. I just wanna make the distinction that during an ORAD, you're going to see that parceled out in the findings. And then, now that I am no longer doing the B program, I should have time, Wednesday or Thursday of next week to conduct my initial review. I have sent this off to Beta, for scope and fee, which we did receive today. They were a quick turnaround on that. I believe I sent that to you already. I might not have.
Nope, not yet.
Okay, so I'll follow back up on that tomorrow. And then what I do with Beta is I go out, I conduct my own independent review, I send them, my notes, and then they incorporate it into their peer review, so it's a comprehensive letter, technical
Perfect.
letter. Then once we get a NOI file number, they'll also include those comments. So you are getting one letter throughout the entirety of the project.
I appreciate that. That's awesome.
So once they conduct their review, I can let you know when they're on site if the property owner wants to be notified. Otherwise, I'll follow up with you along the way.
Yeah, and as of 4 o'clock this afternoon, they still haven't DEP still hasn't issued a file number yet, so I get it, it's gonna drag a little bit.
Yeah.
The only other thing I'd have to say is I noticed you were continuing a lot of things to May 30th. I have a conflict that evening, so does Mr. Lapchansky. If you would prefer to go to the next meeting, I don't think we would have peer review back and responded to by then anyway, so.
Well, we typically just go to the next meeting, and if we have to continue, we'll just do it again. It's
Okay.
fine, it's not, there's no downside to that. Just in case, just give you the option, just in case something happens and you do, or there's something new that you want to come in and present to us.
Okay,
That's all.
perfect.
Just leave it open.
We can do that.
Anything? No? That's it?
No, I'm set.
Anyone in the audience or anyone online? Okay. Take up-
Is this an ANRAD or an NOI?
ANRAD.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'll give you a motion to continue the ANRAD for 55 Constitution Boulevard to May 30th at 7:09 PM.
Second,
Vote to continue.
continue?
Continue?
Continue.
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 Mark?
Vote to continue.
Continue. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that is the last hearing for the evening. So now we go into general business. Minor buffer zone activity for 11 Mount Street.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Greg Surdy. I'm the owner at 11 Mount Street.
Yep, so you'd explain the project.
Thank you.
Yep.
I'm new to this. First time.
All right.
Yeah,
Not
sure,
first.
sure. Yeah, just
Okay,
overview, yeah.
I have a property that has a major problem with invasives, as well as a number of dead ash trees that are falling in an unsafe manner. So all I'm looking to do is remove all the invasives, remove the ash trees, replant and restore the property with native trees, shrubs, bushes, etc.
Okay.
Did that explain it?
Good. Anything additional on this project?
Yes, so I did want, thank you, Greg, for
You're welcome.
coming. So the reason why I would like to have a discussion with the commission, on Greg's property, there is an intermittent stream and associated BVW. So Greg, I know the last time that we had talked, it was up in the air if you wanted to, you're looking to remove the invasive species interior to the wetland, correct? Or just on the
Interior
buffer
and
zone?
exterior. Well, no, whatever you will let me remove.
So-
How about
This is
that?
where-
Whatever invasives you will let me remove,
Yeah.
I will remove because it is infested with multiflora just terrible, terrible stuff that shouldn't be there.
So I definitely think it's good to encourage residents to remove invasive species
Sure.
no matter
Sure,
where it
sure.
is. It's just a level of oversight that we
Yes. Sure.
need to have.
Sure.
So that was something that I wanted to bring in front of the commission as a public hearing. Thank you for your honesty. And then revegetating within those wetlands, dictating what plants could be used, what not, what you don't want in there. I think Greg is a little bit of a homesteader like myself. I believe you have goats, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so forage materials for goats and berries and little agroforestry demonstrations, that he would like to do on his property,
Right.
but where those would occur. So Greg,
Yeah.
I think your project is good, but I would like to defer it to the commission for feedback. What else you would like to see, if there's any other information that you would like to see.
Plans to remove them in the wetlands?
Like what are the, yeah, I mean, well, what we typically do is we typically have people, I guess, carefully remove things if they're gonna be working in wetlands. So basically don't bring in heavy machinery and all this other kind of stuff, obviously, just carve up the land. So, usually it's basically, we ask the person to work with the agent to come up with what makes sense to do from a, I guess, a more gentle way of removal, right? Or basically to get that stuff out of it. And if you obviously, and if you want to revegetate, work with the agent on a list of suggested things for that specific area that you might want to put back. And then that would be incorporated in the plan that then you would come forward.
Yeah, I'm happy to do that.
It's pretty easy, actually.
Yeah, I've spoken
Yes.
with Mike Downey, one of the DCR
Yes.
service foresters. He sent me the list of appropriate vegetation to replace that with. A few years back, I started doing this on my own, ignorant of the wetlands, and I've already done a restoration in that wetland part.
Okay.
So I'm here now,
Okay.
knowingly what I should be doing the
Okay,
right way.
okay.
So I have a pretty good idea of what
Okay.
can be planted and how to remove and how not to remove.
Okay.
So
So-
I've been schooled.
Okay, good. Okay.
Okay, so thank you for that feedback. I wasn't sure if you were comfortable with the MBZA first, right?
Yeah.
Because it is interior to a wetland, but it is a restoration project.
It's a restoration project, yeah. I mean, I think so. My personal opinion.
It's fine.
Whatever you guys think.
I think as a CYA, can I say that? As a CYA, I'll also just have him fill out an RDA form,
Yes,
right?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We can walk through, it's easy, it's 2 pages. So there's that. Then a restoration planting plan,
Yes.
something that you would like,
Yes,
right?
yes,
And then notation of what and where he's looking to remove.
right, yeah. Just
Okay.
basically, yeah, a plan,
Sure.
fine, with some details, yeah.
Thank you for that.
Before we approve it or not?
So
can
that was
approve
gonna
that.
be my next question, do you wanna condition it or not? I think you'd probably wanna see it, and Greg, I'm sorry to put you through this exercise, but I think it's a really good exercise, for the Conservation Commission.
Classically, we do like to have a chance to look at the plan, review the plan, then the applicant will come back and say, is this okay? We say, okay, go do it. So it's typically, at least, it would be continued to the next meeting, such that we could actually have a chance to look at the plan.
What, I thought I had some of it planned and scoped out in the MBZA. So you're looking for more than that? I would
Yes,
just,
like a definitive,
Okay.
landscape plan, for example, or confirmed what you want to plant where. You could keep it open, you could have several options, right? Based
Sure.
on site conditions, but also identifying exactly where the invasive species that you would like to remove are. I understand it may just be like barbed wire coloring for the multiflora rose.
Just a suggestion.
Sure.
Right,
Yeah.
yes,
Okay.
and then how you're going to remove it. So the
Okay.
reason why.
No D8s in there.
No what?
No D8 cats in there.
Oh, yeah, no.
Yeah.
Don't have
So-
one.
No,
I realize the redundancy, or maybe, you know, why did you come in front of the commission for this at this point? But it's because I wanted to see clarification from you on the interior of the well
Right,
versus the
correct.
exterior and how you wanted to condition it.
Correct.
And it is a relatively new concept, if you will, for the commission to support these sort of restoration projects, right? And,
Yes,
and
yes.
provide this free consult, not support, but you know what I mean.
Yeah,
I hate being first.
yeah.
Well, you're third.
Third, okay, that's good, good. I don't want to be first, I'll be third.
You're
Okay.
third.
Okay, good.
So, that's good.
Yes.
Okay, so with that, what I would suggest is continuing this again, but you and I, let's connect.
Sure.
And then we can start working through those items to help.
Sounds good.
bring it-
You're looking to get on this and get this whole parcel cleared out and replanted as soon as possible, or what's your time frame on it?
I would have liked to have started removing these invasives yesterday.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
So,
all right.
I think realistically, it will be a season to remove the invasive species. He is right. It's best to get it before they flower and seed. They're not yet seeded, but
Right.
you're right, definitely by the end of summer. I don't think it's gonna take that long for him and I to connect and get you what you need. For planting, the best time is fall. So
Yeah.
at this point, you're already, sorry.
Okay, all right. Okay,
So this map shows wetland outside of your property, but there's also wetland surrounding that intermittent stream.
Correct.
That's the wetland.
Yes.
You're not talking about going outside your property, right? Just inside your.
No, just within my property, yes.
Yeah.
right, correct.
I just had a question. Did you say that you were gonna have goats?
Yes.
Oh, would they be free to go within the wetland area?
Interestingly enough, that kind of southeast corner, the pole of the flag lot, was a fenced-in paddock that where some of those wetlands are. But due to the ash trees falling, I can't use it as a paddock anymore because the ash trees have fallen on the fence, so the goats have trouble keeping them in anyway. But if there's a hole in the fence, they get out. So I would like to fix that fence, which I have another MBZA for, but it doesn't make sense to fix the fence as the ash trees keep falling on the fence. So the property's a bit of a mess, and I'm trying to work on it.
I would like to note, unfortunately, Greg, so this property does not qualify as agricultural exemption.
Okay.
So your goats would not be able to forage in the paddock.
Okay.
I understand, but, that is specific to properties zoned agricultural and are working farms in production. And this is not, so it wouldn't qualify under the Wetlands Protection Act. The goats would be considered an alteration and an impact.
Would that, this is now outside our jurisdiction completely, but would you have to go into zoning and try to get some sort of agricultural exemption for that property?
No, it would have to be zoned as agriculture,
So-
but he would have to be a working farm.
Oh, working for my state.
Yeah, and it has to be 5 years. So that's
yes.
like providing livestock, apples,
I see.
forestry, timber,
Yeah.
well, that's
You
forestry.
can't just take a household and say, hey, it's a farm. Okay,
That's
got it.
exactly right.
Okay,
Yeah,
I see.
so it doesn't qualify, unfortunately.
Yes, I see, okay, all right.
Like my pig can't go roll around in the wetlands, so.
That's
Not
a
that he
shame.
would, he's a princess, but, you know,
Okay.
so.
All right.
So there's nothing, so we're not in a hearing, so we're not continuing the hearing, we're just asking to come work with Rika, put together the plan, come back in front of us, present it, such that, or present it to us before so we have a chance to review it, such that when you do come back, we can vote on it and hopefully pass it.
Sure, happy to.
Okay.
Look forward to it. Thank you.
Can I introduce an idea?
Yes.
So, we are into protecting wetlands. We have a resident that wants to restore and improve your wetlands. Is there any way we can provide some resources for such residents, such as wetland mix? In other words, help them do this, because it's in the best interest of everybody.
So I think any donation of tangible materials or monetary funds, not that that's what you're suggesting, would dictate preferential treatment, but your buy-in is allowing me to work with him, because now it's my role as a conservation agent stepping into helping him, guiding him, develop his plan. I will note, kudos to Greg, I did waive filing fees, so that was that $50 back. He was a stand-up guy and said he would pay it and had no problem paying it, so he paid it.
Okay, but I'm just kind of thinking, not just for this case, but any resident that has a wetland that they want to improve.
Yeah, I understand. I just think Mark Sorrell will say in the future, if they have a violation, it denotes preferential treatment.
Well, I think also.
And it's still a permit, and because he's interior to the wetland and he still has to file an RDA, it just, the perception of it isn't.
What the town could do, completely independent of this and of us as a regulatory body, could create a seed bank for citizens to impart of, basically, if they so choose. But that would be totally independent of us, right?
But I like that idea, because then that would allow more freedom of that, so.
Right,
There's,
right.
I'm totally down
Go talk to
asking
the
the
guys at the
question.
seed
I
bank,
just think-
you know,
yeah.
see what you can get,
Yeah.
So, I'm just saying. But
If there are grants available, I'll take them.
They're actually,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
there are, we'll talk about
All right,
that.
we'll talk about that
actually,
later.
but-
Okay.
Okay. Okay, so I think we're done. We don't have to continue this.
I would continue it to the next meeting,
Okay, so we do con-
or a month,
Okay, we'll
up to you.
continue the MBA.
Yeah,
Okay.
yep.
All right, so I will take a vote today.
I'll give you a motion to continue the MBZA for 11 Mount Street to 30 May at
Just say
7, 30 May, yeah.
Second.
Okay,
Vote to continue.
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 Mark? Where do you have everybody buttons that just says like continue?
Thank you for your time.
Okay,
Thanks a lot.
thank you. Okay, and now we move on to permit modifications, extensions. For Franklin Heights Parcel B. Is there anyone here from Franklin Heights?
Yeah, this is Desheng Wang. I'm representing the applicant.
Okay.
So I have to do this remotely because I have coming to Florida to attend niece graduation. So so but I was in several communications with Brickline. Brickline, see if you can give a briefing on it. So you probably have the plans and the updated. Just for the convenience, I'm using my phone, so it's not very convenient to share.
Sure, Desheng. So do you want me to, I'm sorry, what would you like? Because I can just provide my comments, or
Yeah,
unfortunately,
if
Desheng,
you-
I can't present more
yeah.
information.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right, if you can provide your comments, or I can give a summary. Last meeting, we had presented our request for the minor modification. Basically, it's for the construction phasing plan. Originally, we have the plan to remove the trees in different phases. Then we feel that, so since we have to do the entire site perimeter erosion control line, and so with the trees removed, it's going to provide the major benefit and flexibility to tackle any, emerging erosion issues. So also making the construction more, integrated to the way more effective. And the plan is we will cut the trees, but we're going to keep the stumps in place, and until we are doing the work in each phases. And we also Ricaline pointed out some discrepancy in our phasing plan, and that the special condition 52, we remedied that in this minor modification. So I think that it's basically the summary of this request. Thank you, Ricaline. So that's my quick brief summary.
Okay.
Thanks to Shane. So I deferred to the commission to discuss the phasing of the tree removal. I did just want to make 2 comments about phase 2D and E on the document outlined by DeShang. So it's more semantics than anything, but they're important semantics. So phase 2D, stormwater basin 1 to be constructed as a sediment basin as spelled out in order of conditions 52. Its final grading shall be done in phase 3. That should be at the end of phase 3. That is to protect any sedimentation into the basin during construction per the general permit. And then same thing with phase 2E. So we'll want to make sure that that is at the end of phase 3, functional prior
Okay.
to the end of phase 3. So knowing that whenever the commission makes their determination, I would suggest that you approve it with those conditions as stated for phase 2D and E, or corrections as stated for phase 2D and E. And then also, I would recommend that you approve the permit modification, noting that the order of conditions issued March 28th, 2023 still apply.
Okay.
Agreed.
Okay. Comments?
Good.
Questions? No? Does anyone in the audience have any comments on this project? Anyone online? No? Mark, no?
Good.
Okay. So basically, Brika, your suggestion is to approve with these 2 corrections, yes? Right, and then just noting for the record that the OOC still applies from 2023.
Yep, March 20th, 2023.
March, yep, okay, right, okay. All right, so noted. I'll take a motion to approve with the corrections.
I give you a motion to approve the Franklin Heights Parcel B, modify existing conditions as per comments of the agent.
Right, so the phasing for 2D and 2E.
Phasing at 3 to B,
Right.
and that it's still,
Okay,
yes.
okay,
Second.
okay.
Vote to approve.
Approve?
Approve.
Approve?
Approve.
Approve?
Mark?
Vote to approve.
Okay, approved. Thank you very much.
Thanks to Shane.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ricaline. I will get you first thing on Monday when I get back to get that 2 conditions, 2 D and E corrected.
Okay,
Thanks, Shane.
thank you.
Okay,
Have
thank you,
fun.
good
Thanks
night,
to
thank
Shane.
you. Thank you.
Happy graduation.
Have a good day.
Thank you. It's a good thing, so to see a younger generations. We are getting older, so we need the younger generations coming up, right?
That's right.
Thank you. Yeah,
Okay.
good night.
Good night. All right, so.
All right, good. I really appreciate it.
Sure, absolutely. Thank you. So, now, without further ado, I'd like to get on to almost the end of the meeting, the violations enforcement for Prospect Street. So, Lou?
Thought I'd never come, huh?
No? You here?
Lou Petrosi for Wall Street Development Corp. So I happened to be watching your video from the last meeting, and I was surprised to see that there was some sort of an accusation of us performing work without adequate permits or approvals. So, quite honestly, much of the information that you were given was inaccurate. The area that is being referred to as performing work is approved as a subdivision roadway by the Franklin Planning Board. The adjacent lot is owned by Wall Street Development Corp. Much of the property is situated in the town of Bellingham. There are no resource areas on the property. In fact, the Bellingham jurisdiction only extends back approximately 140 feet from the pavement or from the street line of Prospect Street. So I'm quite disappointed that you would issue, or the agent would issue an enforcement order without knowing all the facts. There's no attempt here to ask for forgiveness. We are doing what we are entitled to do. So the area that's been cleared for trees is in the town of Bellingham. It's not in any resource areas. It's been cleared to allow for stockpiling of material. Again, a permitted activity under the subdivision regulations. And the subdivision has been approved in both Franklin and Bellingham. So I'm quite shocked that you would have that kind of a conversation and issue an enforcement order or cease and desist or whatever you want to call it on something that you have really no jurisdiction over. So I don't see any need to continue the dialogue on that, but you clearly, we're not in any resource areas, we're not violating any regulations, we're not violating the Wetlands Protection Act, your wetland bylaw, the Bellingham bylaw, or any other regulation that we're not entitled to operate under at this time. So with all that said, I've heard the comments regarding other matters. Those matters we're not able to comment on because they're in legal litigation. So I just don't think that the enforcement order is an action that this board should be taking at any time. So those are my comments.
Okay, thank you. Brika, I believe that you had considered Lou's comments to you previously, which he's kindly restated here, and you had prepared some form of response?
Yes. So I would like to, for the record, read in a few emails. One, I'd like to read in the email sent from Mr. Petrosi on May 14th, 2024 at 11:42 a.m. And then he provided 8 points in his email that I have answered in 7 pages. Bear with me, everybody. I'm going to read it into the record. And then I also have some quotes and emails from DEP, actually, to read into the record as well, okay?
Thank you.
If there's any questions, on processes, acronyms, please just wait till the end,
Yes.
so I don't get distracted. All right, so Mr. Petrosi's email to me, May 14th, 2024 at 11:42 a.m. in response to the enforcement order. Actually, to that point, I will pause real quick and read in the actual enforcement order, okay? So the enforcement order was issued to Wall Street Development Corp., Mr. Petrosi, for unpermitted activities resulting in the alteration of the 100-foot buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetlands and the locally regulated 0 to 25 foot, 25 to 50 foot, and 50 to 100-foot buffer zone, including but not limited to tree and herbaceous coverage removal, fill/gravel stockpiling, conversion of land use, and potential grading and or wetland drainage. Okay, the Conservation Commission did not and does not have an approved order of conditions issued for this parcel, nor does the Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection Central Region. Pausing on that, going back to the email, May 14th, 2024. Good morning, Bricolai. I just finished viewing the meeting of the Conservation Commission on May 2nd, 2024. During that meeting, it appears that you presented inaccurate information to the Commission regarding the work undertaken within the areas situated in the town of Franklin. In fact, you clearly misrepresented Wall Street's activities by implying that Wall Street clear-cut the entire area, particularly the area reserved for roadway access into the portion of the property situated in Bellingham. Furthermore, you suggested that an enforcement or cease and desist would be warranted and further implied that Wall Street undertook these activities in complete disregard of the regulations. Since you were not the conservation agent during the initial period when Wall Street acquired the property, these misrepresentations will be excused at this time. However, for the record and your future reference, let's make sure the information you are presenting to the Commission and, perhaps, other municipal officials in the future is accurate and true. Please note the following. 1. Wall Street purchased the property on Prospect Street in October 2021. 2. Prior to acquiring title to the property, Wall Street filed a notice of intent for each of the lots 4, 5, and 6 with the Franklin Conservation Commission. The Conservation Commission subsequently issued an order of conditions for each of the lots in October 2021. 3. Following the issuance of the orders, lots 4, 5, and 6 were sold and single-family homes were constructed, all in accordance with the order of conditions issued and the regulations. 4. In addition, Wall Street obtained approval of additional lots 1, 2, and 3 with frontage on Prospect Street outside jurisdiction of the Commission. In March 2022, Wall Street contracted for each of the lots to be cleared for eventual sale and construction. 5. In December 2021, Wall Street filed an application for preliminary subdivision approval with the Bellingham Planning Board. The preliminary plan was followed up with the filing of a definitive subdivision plan with both the Bellingham Planning Board and Franklin Planning Board. 6. The definitive subdivision plan shows a 60-foot roadway from Prospect Street in Franklin to provide access to the remaining land in Bellingham. The Bellingham and Franklin Planning Board both approved the definitive plan in 2023. A copy of the endorsed plan is attached for your reference along with the certificate of vote of the Franklin Planning Board and other documents approved by the Town of Franklin. 7. The area you indicate that was clear-cut is an approved right-of-way under the subdivision control law. Wall Street is the owner of this area along with the adjoining Lot 2. 8. Wall Street is not aware of any resource areas that are jurisdictional to the Wetlands Protection Act or the Franklin Wetland Bylaw. In addition, it does not appear that Wall Street is in violation of any state or local regulations regarding the work undertaken. Based on the foregoing, any representation that Wall Street undertook these activities in complete disregard of any rules or regulations is completely erroneous. While it is not unexpected that the Commission, through its agent, may seek to extract retribution or a penalty from Wall Street for seeking a superseding order due to the Commission's failure to open a timely public hearing, however, seeking to manipulate and misrepresent facts in order to justify an enforcement action will not be tolerated. In addition, such a misrepresentation tarnishes and discredits Wall Street's reputation as it seeks development permits for its proposed development. Therefore, it would be appreciated if you would inform the Commission that you were mistaken in your initial assessment of the situation and that Wall Street is not in violation of any regulations under the jurisdiction of the Franklin Conservation Commission. As always, should you have any questions or need any additional information, please do not hesitate to contact me. So, for the Commission, I have prepared a 7-page memorandum with additional attachments. The entire file is 101 pages. Not to worry, my memo is only 7. The attachments are all the documents that Lou has provided of his own volition and those order of conditions and things referenced in my memo. So, this memorandum to the Franklin Conservation Commission from Bricolai Goodlander, Certified Wetland Scientist, Professional Wetland Scientist, Certified Ecological Restoration Practitioner in Training, Conservation Agent, Natural Resource Protection Manager, regarding 00 Prospect Street Enforcement Order, Parcel 309-018-000-000, date May 16th, 2024. This memorandum is in response to an email provided by Wall Street Development Corp. Here in Wall Street / Mr. Lou Petrozzi, Mr. Petrozzi, on May 14th, 2024, contesting the enforcement order, EO, date May 15th, 2024 for 00 Prospect Street, Parcel 309-018-000-000. The EO, dated May 15th, 2024 for Parcel 309-018-000-000, was issued to Wall Street / Mr. Petrozzi for, again, unpermitted activities resulting in the alteration of the 100-foot buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetlands and the locally regulated 0 to 25-foot, 25 to 50-foot, and 50 to 100-foot buffer zone, including but not limited to tree and herbaceous coverage removal, fill/gravel stockpiling, conversion of land use, and potential grading and/or wetland drainage. The Conservation Commission did not and does not have an approved order of conditions issued for this parcel, nor does the Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection Central Region, here known as Mass DEP. A few things to know. The resource areas identified in this EO are resource areas identified in plans and maps provided by Mr. Petrozzi and approved by both Franklin and Bellingham planning boards. Prior to filing an enforcement order on April 24th, 2024, the Franklin Conservation Agent emailed Judy Schmitz, Ms. Schmitz, Mass DEP Wetlands Section Chief, to confirm the validity of the enforcement order. The Franklin Conservation Agent confirmed the need for an enforcement order with the Conservation Commission Chair, Mr. Jeff Livingstone, as well. Per Ms. Schmidt's email response dated April 24th, 2024, the Commission can issue an enforcement order if work is being conducted within jurisdictional wetland resource areas or buffer zone, since no work permitting this work has been issued by the Franklin Conservation Commission or DEP. While an EO instructing the applicant to cease and desist may be appropriate, further instructions to file an NOI may complicate the permitting process at this time. A revised or second EO can always be issued at a future date. A PDF of this email is attached. With this precedent set, please see the below responses from the Franklin Conservation Agent to the 8 points Mr. Petrosi provided in his email dated May 14th, 2024, as to why this enforcement order is invalid. Modifications have been made from the original email comprising of punctuation and capitalization. Please reference the attached PDF of the original email. 1. Wall Street purchased the property on Prospect Street in October 2021. Response: understood. Purchase of a property does not allow for the above listed unpermitted activities. 2. Prior to acquiring title to the property, Wall Street filed a notice of intent for each of the lots 4, 5, and 6 with the Franklin Conservation Commission. The Conservation Commission subsequently issued an order of condition for each of the lots in October 2021. Response: correct. Order of conditions corresponding to Lot 4, CE 1591240, Lot 5, CE 1591238, and Lot 6, CE 1591239, were approved and issued by the Conservation Commission on October 19, 2021. No order of conditions were issued for the parcel of land with the parcel ID of 309-018-000-000, which is where the above listed violations occurred. The order of conditions related to Lot 4, Lot 5, and Lot 6 did not approve the construction of an access to a subdivision in Bellingham. Furthermore, had an order of conditions been issued for the parcel 309-018-000-000, a notification prior to the start of work and erosion control installation and approval would have been conditioned as a standard special condition. If we are to assume that an order of conditions was sought and given for parcel 309-018-000-000, then Mr. Petrosi would still be in a violation of the order of conditions. Notification prior to the start of work or inspection of erosion controls did not occur with the current conservation agent nor any past conservation agents because there was no requirement to do so. E.g., there was no permit to be had for work occurring on parcel 309-018-000-000. Additionally, certificates of compliance have all been issued for lots 4, 5, and 6, so Mr. Petrosi would be admitting to conducting work outside of an existing order of conditions if any order of conditions were to be had regardless. Lastly, to this note, the unpermitted activities on parcel 309-018-000-000 corresponds to the existing notice of intent filed March 17, 2024, not the notice of intent filed for lots 4, 5, and 6 in 2021. So while it is a correct statement that a notice of intent was filed for lots 4, 5, and 6, it is incorrect to assume that this has any bearing on the current project or enforcement order for 309-018-000-000. 3. Following the issuance of the orders, lots 4, 5, and 6 were sold and single-family homes were constructed, all in accordance with the order of conditions issued in the regulations. Response: partially correct. The buyer of the lots did have issues with the order of conditions, but this is not a consideration in regards to the validity of the enforcement order for parcel 309-018-000-000. 4. In addition, Wall Street obtained approval of additional lots 1, 2, and 3 with frontage on Prospect Street outside jurisdiction of the Commission. In March 2022, Wall Street contracted for each of the lots to be cleared for eventual sale and construction. Response: this is an unfortunate statement. Lot 3 and Lot 8, which reside in Bellingham, have significant coverage of mapped bordering vegetated wetlands with the 100-foot buffer zone to bordering vegetative wetlands on Lot 2. To the northwest, Lot 15 in Franklin also has mapped locally jurisdictional isolated vegetated wetlands and associated buffer zone that extend to parcel 2. The wetlands are shown on the definitive subdivision plan, 11 lots, dated December 17, 2021. Note, this plan was provided by Mr. Petrosi as the endorsed plan in his email dated May 14, 2024, and are shown on the current Special Residential Townhouse Development Plan, Prospect Hill Village, dated November 30th, 2023, currently in front of the Bellingham Planning Board and Conservation Commission. Any clearing of the Lot 2, I misspoke and said parcel earlier, Lot 2 property should have been permitted under the Franklin Conservation Commission and Mass DEP pursuant to the Wetlands Protection Act and the Local Wetlands Protection Bylaw, Chapter 181 and associated regulations. Therefore, Mr. Petrosi is also in violation of the Wetlands Protection Act and the Local Wetlands Protection Bylaw, Chapter 181 and associated regulations for unpermitted work on this property. I have provided snippets of both plans, the endorsed plan that Mr. Petrosi provided showing the approved wetland delineation and the boundary. I am not finished, Mr. Petrosi. The scale is 1 inch to 120 feet. You have copies of this plan. If you were to print them and take a ruler out, you would note that within 1 inch, that lands you on property. I've also included a snippet from sheet 10 of 43 from the Special Residential Townhouse Development Plan, Prospect Hill Village, dated November 30th, 2023, also showing the same wetlands. 5. In December 2021, Wall Street filed an application for preliminary subdivision approval with the Bellingham Planning Board. The preliminary plan was followed up with the filing of a definitive subdivision plan with both the Bellingham Planning Board and Franklin Planning Board. Response: correct. Please see response to number 4 regarding site conditions shown on this filing. Please note that neither the Bellingham nor the Franklin Planning Board oversees the Wetlands Protection Act or the Local Wetlands Protection Bylaw, Chapter 181 and its associated regulations. This approval bears no weight on any decision the Franklin Conservation Commission is tasked with making, and Mr. Petrosi is still required to file with the Franklin Conservation Commission for work proposed on parcels with jurisdiction under the Wetlands Protection Act or Local Wetlands Protection Bylaw, Chapter 181 and its associated regulations. 6. The definitive subdivision plan shows a 60-foot roadway from Prospect Street in Franklin to provide access to the remaining land in Bellingham. The Bellingham and Franklin Planning Board both approved the definitive subdivision plan in 2023. A copy of the endorsed plan is attached for your reference, along with the certificate of vote of the Franklin Planning Board and other documents approved by the Town of Franklin. Response: correct. Please see response to number 4 regarding site conditions shown on this filing. Please note that neither the Bellingham nor the Franklin Planning Board oversees the Wetlands Protection Act or the Local Wetlands Protection Bylaw, Chapter 181 and its associated regulations. This approval bears no weight on any decision the Franklin Conservation Commission is tasked with making, and Mr. Petrosi is still required to file with the Franklin Conservation Commission for work proposed on parcels with jurisdiction under the Wetlands Protection Act or Local Wetlands Protection Bylaw, Chapter 181 and its associated regulations. 7. The area you indicate that was clear-cut is an approved right-of-way under the Subdivision Control Law. Wall Street is the owner of this area, along with the adjoining Lot 2. Response: Mr. Petrosi is correct that he owns the property. However, ownership of property does not circumvent the jurisdiction or required permits needed under the Wetlands Protection Act or the Local Wetlands Protection Bylaw, Chapter 181 and associated regulations. While the phrase clear-cut was utilized for brevity and plain language, please note the official language provided in the enforcement order dated May 15, 2024 for parcel 309-018-000-000. An enforcement order was not issued for Lot 2. However, as Mr. Petrosi has admitted, unpermitted activities also occurred on Lot 2. The Commission can consider modifying the enforcement order to include this lot. 8. Wall Street is not aware of any resource areas that are jurisdictional to the Wetlands Protection Act of the Franklin Wetland Bylaw. In addition, it does not appear that Wall Street is in violation of any state or local regulations regarding the work undertaken. Response: incorrect. Mr. Petrosi has provided on his own volition endorsed plans noting such jurisdiction and has filed a notice of intent on March 17, 2024 for proposed work on parcel 309-018-000-000. If this parcel did not have any jurisdictional resources within it, then Mr. Petrosi would have no need to file or seek a superseding order of conditions with Mass DEP. With regards to comments made by Mr. Petrosi that this enforcement order was an act of retribution against filing a request for a superseding order of conditions is also unfortunate and incorrect. The site visit to the property, which noted unpermitted activities on parcel 309-018 was prompted by the many citizen comments the Franklin Conservation Commission received on April 18th, 2024, at the first initial public hearing for the Notice of Intent filed March 17th, 2024. The Franklin Conservation Agent followed the normal procedure of responding to a violation reported by Franklin residents. These comments are recorded via video, audio, and via meeting minutes. Please note that the Franklin Conservation Agent did not go to the property until April 24th, 2024. The first public hearing was on April 18th, 2024, with the request for a superseding order of conditions sought on April 17th, 2024. A full 7 calendar days transpired between the request for a superseding order of conditions and the site visit. Furthermore, as demonstrated above and by the attached email, Mass DEP was contacted prior to any issuance of the enforcement order. The enforcement order follows the suggestions of Mass DEP and does not enforce anything other than proper construction site management and proper permitting procedure. The enforcement order for parcel 309-018-000-000 ordered: the property owner, their agents, permittees, and all others shall immediately cease and desist from any activity affecting the buffer zone and or resource areas. No further work shall be performed until a public hearing has been held and an order of conditions has been issued to regulate said work. Biodegradable compost socks, i.e. erosion and sedimentation controls, shall be installed surrounding the limit of work by May 31st, 2024. Stocks shall be inspected and approved by the conservation agent once installed. It is the property owner's responsibility to seek confirmation of the erosion/sedimentation controls prior to June 7th, 2024. In summary, the decision to ratify the enforcement order for parcel 309-018-000-000 is deferred to the Commission. It is recommended that the Commission discuss modifying the enforcement order to include Lot 2 to the order and improve the proposed timeline for erosion control installation and approval. I have one follow-up comment on procedure. Mr. Petrosi, I have received email confirmation from Judy Schmitz. Even though you have sought a superseding order of conditions, the Commission still has to hold public hearings, and DEP would like the public's feedback. So that is why we opened the public hearing per DEP, and we are receiving public comment and hearing the residents of Franklin and Bellingham.
Again, I don't want to belabor this point, but I appreciate the 7 pages that Brika Lee has put together, but there are no resource areas on either one of these parcels that is being mentioned. I mean, it's pretty clear. You can walk out there today, last week, last year, there have been no resource areas on this property. The parcel that she's referring to is the parcel that does have wetlands, that is the subject of the notice of intent we've requested a superseding order for. I don't really.
Sure, I can provide clarity.
Excuse me.
Buffer zones are actually considered resource areas under the Wetlands Protection Act and the Franklin Wetlands Protection Bylaw, Chapter 181 and associated regulations.
Mr. Chairman, I didn't interrupt Brika Lee. I don't expect her to interrupt me. There are no resource areas and there are no buffer zones on either of the 2 parcels, Lot 2 or the 60-foot right-of-way that's being worked on or where the activity is taking place. She's just simply incorrect. And I would encourage you to engage either our environmental consultant or have a site walk, whatever you want to do out there, but there's just simply no resource areas on those 2 properties where the activity is being taken place, okay? I just don't know how to make it any clearer than that. We're very cognizant of the resource areas that are on our property, both in Bellingham and in Franklin. We're cognizant of the 200-foot riverfront area that's on the property. It's been staked out. We've honored that limitation. We're fully aware of whatever jurisdictional resource areas that may be on the property, and there are simply no resource areas or buffer zones on either of these 2 areas. And I don't know how to explain it any other differently than that, but it's clearly, the information is inaccurate, what you've been told.
So,
I apologize.
Paul, I'm just saying, if I can just try to summarize this, right? So it seems to me that the argument is about the resources on these two lots. That's what it really comes down to. If I may simplify everything, yes?
There's no resource areas
Well, I
on the
understand,
property.
But that's the argument.
That seems to be.
Seems to be the
It's
argument,
pretty,
right? Yeah.
just, for example, just not to belabor the point, but, you know, we have owned this property for 3 years, going on 3 years. And we understand, the regulations. We understand the procedure. We've been doing this a long time. This commission, either predecessors or thereabouts, have been on the property before. We filed an ANRAD for a portion of the property that's closer to Lake Street. We identified the resource areas on that ANRAD that were in the town of Franklin. The other lots, 4, 5, and 6, were clearly jurisdictional to the town of Franklin, wetlands. And in the case of Lot 4, it wasn't even a wetland, it was the 200-foot riverfront that was the resource area. So those areas the commission did review, and they approved orders of conditions for each of those lots. The remaining of land on 1, 2, and 3 have no resource areas that are on them. They're built on. So for someone to come along now and say that they have resource areas on them would be kind of strange. We did recently file for another lot, Lot 1R, if you recall, a few months back, which was jurisdictional to the 200-foot riverfront area. Commission, we filed a notice of intent. The commission issued an order of condition, and that lot is being built on today. But the remaining lots, Lot 1 is built on, Lot 3 is built on, and the only remaining lot there is Lot 2 and the 60-foot right-of-way, both of which have no resource areas on them. So I'm kind of surprised that somebody would try to claim that there were a resource area on those properties. So feel free to go by.
So can I ask a question though? I mean, I understand the argument, and I understand
Well, it's fact. I mean, it's fact.
I understand the current argument over whether there are resources or not. But, so my question to you is this, and the point is brought up at the end of the notes, and it's a good point. If indeed you are working with a project in which you believe there are no resources, then why file an NOI?
We filed an NOI for the access way on the far northerly property line because that is a section of land 140 feet from the town of Franklin on Prospect Street to the town line in Bellingham. It's adjacent to the recycling center of the town of Bellingham. I want to say it's 1,500 feet away from this location that Bricolai is referring to. It's just simply not the same locus. If you scroll down, so that plan doesn't show the area that is subject of the notice of intent. That shows the area that is where the access road and where the activity is ongoing right now that Bricolai is claiming that we're in violation. There's simply no resource areas there. If you look at the subdivision plan, can you have the subdivision plan there, Bricolai, that you can put up?
Do you have your,
I had emailed it. I had emailed
yeah,
it. But-
okay.
So.
Give me 1 second, because I have 121 pages.
Go back to that last one.
No, it's all right, I got it.
So, okay, there you are.
Yep, so this is the access
Okay.
that the NOI is for.
No, it isn't.
This-
The NOI is, see that dashed line on the far northerly side, the dashed on the right-hand side? The right-hand side,
Yeah,
right there.
Yes.
That's where we filed for the notice of intent for the access way. Okay? that is jurisdictional to the Franklin Conservation Commission under the Franklin Wetland Bylaw.
So
And
is
that,
this
and
parcel.
that access way is being proposed as part of our multi-unit, multi-townhouse development that's ongoing with the town of Bellingham right now. So I understand it could have been a mistake. I'm just here to clarify it, that the area that you see where Lot 2 is, NF Wall Street Development Corp., in the middle there, that's Lot 2, right there, that's where the activity is ongoing. There's no resource areas within a quarter of a mile of that lot. And likewise, the 60-foot right-of-way, which is in the middle of Lot 4 and 3, the 60-foot right-of-way, that is a sand pile. There's no resource areas there. So I can understand there may have been some misunderstanding as to the resource areas, but clearly the town has it, from an assessment standpoint, has all of the land that is situated in Franklin that's not part of the lot. So like in the middle of lots 4 and, lots 5 and 4, that big wide swath there, that's a wetland in the middle, it's not a lot. The town was assessing that lot as a buildable lot. Since there's been the category for that lot has been changed to a non-buildable lot. So that is part of the 318, what is it, 309018-00, whatever lot number they have on it. But clearly, the areas that we were talking about, the Wall Street Development Corp. That's in the middle, and the 60-foot right-of-way, those clearly do not have any resource areas on them. So I'm sorry that we're going through this process.
May I provide some clarification? So resource area is inclusive of buffer zone. This is where the point of scale is important for these maps. So 1 inch equals 120 feet. I took an engineering ruler and I measured from that delineated buffer zone right here, or delineated wetland boundary. 120 feet extends onto this property.
There's no way.
It does. Additionally, regardless of that fact, Lot 2, these buffer zones from these IVWs extend over here. So does this one. I'll scroll up to show Lot 2. Lot 2, 100 feet, for sure 100 feet from this IVW onto Lot 2 that he's been clearing.
No, I'm not clearing that lot. I'm sorry, you're misunderstood.
Okay. In the email that you had submitted, you said that you had cleared and constructed. So,
Well, see, on this particular,
so continuing on, all the same, right? The subdivision plan that he filed with Bellingham is showing this as an access in Franklin. This should also be provided in a notice of intent.
No.
Because of that buffer zone. If he is going to traverse right in this area, it is buffer.
That's in the Bellingham, this town of Bellingham.
But the buffer zone extends.
And we did file in Bellingham.
So then what I might recommend for the commission is for Mr. Petrosi to get his wetland scientist out there and redelineate all of these boundaries to prove to the commission
We're not doing
beyond a conceivable doubt that these are not in resource areas. To that point, Mr. Petrosi also has the notice for public hearings posted on this parcel. He has it on a sign on the roadway that the public hearing for modifications of that parcel is occurring on the dates that we had them.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I would request either the Conservation Commission compel Mr. Petrosi to provide more information. I definitely recommend that Mr. Petrosi follow good construction site management and good husbandry of his construction site, and at the very bare minimum, put erosion controls out. 3, I would still suggest that the commission provide the cease and desist order.
Mr. Chairman, just so for perspective, each of these lots are required to have a minimum of 200 feet of frontage. If clearly, no offense to Breeka Lee, but she's not using the right scale. Okay, so like that lot, that's the long lot across the back of the front line, that's a 2-acre lot. That frontage is 200 feet, not 120, it's 200 feet. So if you want to have, I'm happy to bring the plans in, if they're downstairs in the office, go up further, Bricolai.
I hear you. Oh, there you go.
The next,
Yep, so 1 inch equals 120 feet,
no,
right there.
you're,
At the bottom right.
you're, the lots, there's a minimum lot frontage requirement of 200 feet, okay? That lot 1 that's there has 200 feet of frontage. You can see 200 feet to the lot it's well in excess of that. So please, let's.
So the scale and your drawing don't match up?
No, my drawing matches up. I don't know what Bricolai is relying on, but if you look at the.
This isn't your drawing then?
This is my engineered drawing, yes. This is the subdivision plan. This is the cover sheet of the subdivision plan. So I'm just trying to explain to you the scale of the drawing. Even if that is 120, you have to take 120 and match it up to the lot frontage, okay? So if the lot frontage, the minimum lot frontage is 200 feet, then that 1 inch is gonna be distorted over the course of the lot, over the length of the lot. I mean, you need to look at the scale drawing rather than this.
Didn't the engineer stamp this drawing?
Correct. And
So
this,
he stamped- So that he stamped.
You're looking at an email version of a plan. You're not looking at the full-size version.
Yes,
I don't
that's fair.
understand the problem here.
But your engineers still had put a scale on there. They had that there.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
Stop,
L-
guys, stop, no, don't say anything, do not say anything more.
Folks,
All right. Hold on. So, little vignette, if I may. So, working on a PhD thesis, right? Okay. I had the honor of taking a class on technical critique and scientific critique from a professor, Carol Gross. She was amazing. She was incredible. And one of the things that she would do intentionally is to provide in packets that we would have to take home and review. Sorry, bear with me, this is going someplace. She would make copies of papers, but those copies might not actually be one-to-one. So when you're looking at graphs, you're looking at diagrams, and you're trying to interpret those graphs and diagrams in terms of trying to critique what conclusions the person the author of the paper came to, right? It is true that because of screw-ups in scale, because things never actually, I mean, again, this is back in the day when we had the stupid Xerox machines, like the massive ones, right? We didn't have digital. That things may not come through one-to-one. And so scales got distorted, or even copies got distorted, or warped, or whatever. I mean, it's true, okay? It's not the actual authentic thing. So you did have students relying on rulers and other devices, trying to match up marks on gels and things to basically, and then she would come back and she would say, are you sure? Did you go to the source material, or actually looking at basically a copy? And everybody said, no, we're looking at the copy that you provided. And she said, well, okay, but you came to the wrong conclusion because this is what you did. So so the point is, it's true, we have a copy of a stamped document, true, but we are not looking at the actual original document that was submitted. That is true, okay? Now, independent of that, because this is such a contentious issue, and because there seems to be so much argument about where these resource areas are in relation to specific markings on this map, I do agree, personally, that it would make sense to have a third party go out there and take a look at this and report back what in the world do they find, and if nothing, then the answer is nothing. But if they do find something, and they do find that things are within a boundary or range, then at least we know we have actual third party, right? So,
We need a reliable set of drawings that says, this is what it is, this is
Well,
the scale this was
there's
done
two-
to,
well,
and this is
but
a,
that's only with the originals that we don't have.
That's
Okay.
not, Chair Livingstone, I'm sorry to interrupt. So I did note that scale is not true to size on this document
Okay.
because they are snippets. We do have the plans.
Okay.
So that is something that we have.
Okay.
Two comments to note, if they are a third party, I might suggest that the commission pick that third party at the expense of the applicant. I would like to reiterate that the enforcement order does not compel anything erroneous regardless. It compels good site management, erosion controls be installed, and that, Mr. Petrosi, follow up with an order of conditions, whether that be by the Franklin Conservation Commission or a superseding order from DEP. Thirdly, I'd like to note that the commission can extend jurisdiction past that 100-foot buffer zone so long as they deem that any work outside of that 100-foot buffer zone does impact resource areas. So I would note in past, the commission has extended that buffer zone and that jurisdiction for areas that have been unvegetated completely.
True, that's true.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
May I just have one final word?
Yes.
Okay. It doesn't, you don't need an expert to go out there. It's so clear and obvious that there are no resource areas. We've submitted plans upon plans to both Bellingham and to Franklin. The resource area and the buffer zones are clearly delineated on those plans. In the field, we have staked out the 200-foot riverfront. I don't want to get into an argument with a cease and desist being issued inappropriately and causing us financial harm or anything like that, because that would not be where we want to go at this point. It's clear from what I've heard tonight that the commission has been under the impression that this was a different location, which clearly the commission does have jurisdiction over, but it's not this location. It's clearly not this location. Bricolai is in the same office as the planning board. She can walk right over to the planning board file, open the file, get the plans,
And measure it.
the accurate plans, and look at where the buffer zones are located and where the lot is, and make that decision right there. It doesn't take an expert to figure it out. It's very clear.
Well, what she's saying is that she did this. This is what she's saying. She's saying that she actually did do
I think she misinterpreted where the location was. I'm trying to be as generous as possible.
I did not, but thank you,
Okay.
Lynn.
Well, listen, do whatever you think you need to do. If it hurts us financially, then we will take it appropriate action. But you clearly should check this out, because in all, due respect to Bricolai, she's clearly not accurate. It's the best I can tell you. It's not worth, I came here tonight specifically to make sure that the commission recognized that there are no resource areas. There's a railway there. You see that dash line going through the middle of it? That's an old railway.
Yes.
Okay? There are no resource areas to the east of that railway.
So this actually extends a little bit. I did provide photos to Judy Schmitz at DEP. I'd be happy to share those with the Conservation Commission. I did walk this site. We have a signed property access signature form, so that allows me to walk this site.
But you're not walking the location of the property that
Oh,
was subject to the...
I parked on this gentleman's property right here. I asked for permission and I walked in. And so I took photos going this way. I took photos of the sign noting the public hearings at this property. I would note, for the commission, if this subdivision plan is showing access from this location, he should still include it, right? It is proposed work.
Oh, my God.
And there is buffer zone. So if the commission would like, I can go out, professional wetland scientist, and I can look at it. I totally respect your want to hire third party. I think that's pretty good to diffuse the situation.
I think it's too
But
hot, yeah.
again, also for lot 2, regardless, this still has buffer zone. And buffer zone is a recognized jurisdictional resource under the Wetlands Protection Act.
Mr. Chairman.
And local Wetlands Protection Bylaw, Chapter 181, and associated regulations.
Mr. Chairman, she's referring to the wrong lot 2, okay? So, when you do an A&R plan, you have lots 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 that front on Prospect Street. When you do a subdivision plan, you renumber the lots within the subdivision plan. There is no activity going on Lot 2 that she just referred to out in that area. We cleared in back of those Wall Street lots, we cleared 100 feet beyond that property line in Bellingham. The Lot 2 that Bricolage, again, I'm trying to just be as nice as possible here. The Lot 2 that you're referring to is not Lot 2 Prospect Street.
Okay, so that may be true. So the enforcement order is specific to 309-018-00000, which is that access. So Lot 2 isn't even on the enforcement order, so nothing to worry about.
Okay, so again, you can walk there, I encourage you, you have my permission. The permission slip that I signed was for the area that was subject to the notice of intent.
That's fair.
Okay, not this location.
That's true.
So, but feel free to walk in there, you can drive in there, but don't drive in too far because you won't be able to get out because there's so much sand there, okay? Park close to the street, walk in 200 feet, pace it off, and see if you see any resource areas. It's just, I'll show you photographs. I mean, this is totally an unproductive conversation, totally, so.
Might I recommend then you continue? Perfect. I will GPS it.
Okay.
And if the scale is incorrect, Lou, right, it's fine. But I think the fact of the matter is the response is unnecessary. So we're very easy to work with. I am very easy to work with. And I think coming in front of the commission and attending the public hearings and having a voice and a face in front of the commission helps circumvent a lot of these issues. So I understand your frustration, but I would still ask, as a builder and as somebody that builds homes and moves earth, that you follow good husbandry. You have to put wattles out there, even if it's outside of the buffer zone, because I would believe as a professional wetland scientist that sedimentation can travel, and we know that. Erosion control should be on the limit of the work.
There has not been any. And you have my phone number, you have my email. If you thought we were in violation of something or doing something improper, you could have easily done one of two things to contact us, and we would have been happy to meet on the site and go over it. And you would understand what I'm talking about is totally not what you're talking about. So it's pretty, I mean, it's pretty clear. I mean, don't take my word for it. Just go out there yourselves. Walk in 200 feet and see if you see any wetland resource area. Because if you're in 200 feet and you don't see a resource area, then there's clearly no 100-foot buffer zone to go along with it. Pretty simple. As I said, the area that is jurisdictional to this commission is the area on the northerly part of the site where we proposed access to our proposed multi-unit development that's in Bellingham. That's the jurisdiction that this commission has. And
So
we're not asking for forgiveness, we're not asking that we didn't do anything wrong, so that's all I can tell you.
Thank you.
All right.
I would like to say that, again, a long time ago, it was a very common occurrence for the Conservation Commission to get together, usually on a Saturday or a Sunday, and actually do a site walk, especially if there was an issue where it was a contentious issue, where there were borders or some other things, or someone was doing work they didn't do. And basically, there was an argument between parties about what was done and what was not. Typically, it wasn't between an agent and a person, it was more like between the citizens and an applicant. But in this case, I think it's very warranted. So I, for one, would obviously like to have the chance to inspect the drawings myself, actually, frankly, as a commissioner. But I also think I would like to go out to this site and see it for myself before we take any further action. That's my personal opinion. I think that's also giving the applicant as much consideration as we potentially could possibly give them before making any further decisions. I open it to the floor for comments and discussion.
Jeff, I was thinking the same thing, that, boy, based on this, I wouldn't mind taking a look at this, firsthand. I think it'd be good. I think it'd be good to go out. I think that makes sense.
Yep. Any other comments, guys?
I'm intrigued about that area where the original NOI filing was for. It's not shown on. It's that one way over there. I think that's the crux of the argument, right?
No, it is this wetland and the boundary of this wetland, which extends over here.
And where's the
Buffer zone extending to this property,
Where's the clearing happening?
this property.
Right there, that's
That,
the road.
that
For the road.
proposed road?
Yes.
Yeah, that's the
All
road.
right.
So this boundary
Right.
extending.
But she's saying that's
Oh.
within the 100 feet.
Okay.
That's what she's saying.
So our contention is that is within the 100-foot there, and Lou's contention is that that's beyond 200 feet. That's
Correct.
kind of the crux of it in that spot.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. So, yeah, I mean, so I think a site walk would, in this case, would definitely be warranted.
Where's the town line? Is that horizontal dash? there?
Yes,
Okay.
Bellingham, Franklin line.
Okay.
Any further comments?
So Bricolage, the lot to the right on this drawing of the proposed road, does that have a house on it now?
It does, yes,
It does. So if we think,
yes.
if we think that the wetland comes up into that, would there have been an NOI filed to build that house?
Yes, there was,
There was.
yes.
So we filed an NOI for that, but we're not into the road. I mean, this gentleman owned this place, was in here last time.
Yes.
So
That
just,
is Mr.
just for the
Petrosi.
record, the NOI that was filed on that lot that you were just referring to, was filed because of 200-foot riverfront. It was sliced along the corner of that lot. There were no resource areas there's no wetlands or other resource areas besides the 200-foot riverfront. So if you just use
was
that
this
theory,
lot.
if you just use that theory of being 200 feet away on that lot that's on the right of the right-of-way, the right side, you can clearly see that the right-of-way is much further beyond 200 feet. And then lot 2 that we're referring to, which is below lot 1 there, that's lot 2, that's even much further, that's like 500 feet away. So, I mean, each one of these lots is 200 feet of frontage, okay? 200 feet. So you go 200, 400, 600 feet away from the river and the BVW. So, again, I understand the commission has to do their due diligence. I would welcome you to go out to the site, as I've said, walk it,
Well, I think that's what we should,
okay?
that's what we need to do.
It's a good afternoon stroll or a good morning stroll. It'll be
I think it's only-
fabulous.
I think it's only prudent to do
Yeah,
at this point.
but this is, I'd like to try and say we're in violation of something, but we're not, all right? And if we were, we'd be owning up to it. We don't need to bend the rules for that purpose.
Okay. So continuation in order to do a site walk and
Yes.
more evaluation?
I would suggest you still ratify the enforcement order though, because at
Yeah.
this point, it's only your signature, and then you would condition it like previous enforcements. So I would do the ratification, continue. Mr. Petrosi, I can include a cover letter noting all of this to file. right? And for the record, that you are continuing it, it still has to be ratified. You are continuing it to allow for this site walk.
Yeah.
At such time, the enforcement order stands or is dropped.
No, we're not gonna cease and desist. We're not ceasing and desisting our work, that activity that's ongoing on the site. If you can demonstrate that we're in violation of one of your regulations or the Wetlands Protection Act, then fine, come out there and mark it out for us, pace it off. The wetlands are flagged, pace it off from the river all the way out to the site, and then tell us that we're in violation. But until that happens, we are not gonna cease and desist our activities on that property.
Okay, so noting that, then I will take one from Judy Schmitz, DEP Section Chief. The commission can drop that. They can require Mr. Petrosi to install erosion controls, right? I think that's the end goal anyways, it's already been unvegetated. So install the erosion controls, and then if you need to change the enforcement order at a later date, you may. So you ratify it with the requirement that he install the erosion controls by May 30th, 2024, and that they're inspected by June 7th.
Where are we installing these erosion controls? On the buffer zone? On the buffer line? 100-foot buffer? 25-foot buffer? Which?
The extent of your property towards the wetland. Yep.
No, we're
So
not,
within the 100-foot buffer zone.
we're not doing that. The 100-foot buffer zone is, as I just described to you, 400 feet away from where this work, where you're suggesting this work is. We're not gonna install erosion control in the middle of the woods that we're not doing any work in. We're just not gonna do it. It's a ridiculous request to begin with. I'm surprised you would do something like that.
Is it possible for us to get out there this weekend? This is Thursday night. He's only got one working day between now and the weekend.
It's impossible for me, I can't do it.
Okay.
I'm completely out this week.
I
Next
personally
week.
would think this is contentious. We
Don't-
can say one thing, just as Bricolai has, and Mr. Petrosi's gonna disagree with us. We're gonna go to a third party anyhow. Why don't we just hire the third party now and get it done?
As long as you pay for it, I'm not paying for it.
It's not up to us to
Well,
do that.
Any other opinions?
This sure seems like it should be easy, right? I mean, there's a wetland and there's work. All we have to do is figure out how far apart they are.
But we already disagree.
Yeah, but
because
there's a real answer. It's just a matter of figuring it out.
Anything?
Did we, I guess we didn't have a assessment from Beta on this?
There's no assessment from Beta, Mark. I went out. I went
Okay.
out to assess, took the photos, provided them to DEP, looked at where the wetlands are, came back, measured it on the plans.
Okay, got it, just,
Yeah, we don't have an independent third party outside the Conservation Commission. And again, the typical thing would be to ask the applicant to pay for it. The applicant will not pay for that, so there won't be a third party assessment. That is not something that typically we do, basically because we want to maintain our impartiality. So you
Yeah,
may
so
think-
I guess
you may think that we're being onerous to the applicant, but that is not the point. The point is to maintain impartiality. So it's not our
Yeah, I
end
think-
making the determination that might come across as negative to the applicant. That would not look good. That would be perceived as potential favoritism, even if it was not. So we can't do that.
so if we're taking the third party off the table, which I understand that, I think we're reverted to, we've gotta get eyes on it. I wouldn't be able to do it this weekend either. I could do it as soon as Tuesday personally, but, I think we get eyes on it. We gather the information. To your point, Jeff, maybe we look at the plans and we make a decision based on what we see.
Well,
And,
what we've done in the past is if it is not possible to go out as a group, which actually we can't go out in groups of 4 or more, right?
You
Right.
can, I just have to post it.
Well, yes, I mean, What we've been, the guidance that we've been given is that if you go out to 4 or more, you don't have any discussion.
Well,
It's like-
yes,
So
yeah,
we
you
can't
shouldn't,
talk?
you shouldn't be having a
can't talk.
discussion anyways, but.
You
That's
can't
gonna be a
talk. Well,
problem.
4 or more legally,
I
you
know.
can't talk, but that's true. So basically, you can't like congregate over here at the shed, 4 or more at a table. You can't do that, that's bad.
So I would like to note for the commission, if you don't ratify it, it's dropped.
Mhm.
So then there would be no need for a site visit. So
Right.
you either ratify it tonight with conditions or you drop it,
Right.
whichever is
So, yeah.
fine. But I just want to lay out those parameters for you.
Right.
So if we ratify it,
That gives us the option to do
contingent
the sidewalk, yeah.
on a site visit, does it go into effect immediately, Bricolai? I thought I took it from your earlier comments that we could ratify it contingent on us having a site visit, at which point it could go into effect or be dropped,
Absolutely.
but we could we could ratify
Yep.
it tonight, so
Yep, and
so
you're,
it's,
sorry.
right?
Yeah, you're
Go
able
ahead.
to
Nope.
drop enforcement orders at any time.
That's what I was thinking. So that way it's, we go through the procedural motions here tonight. Lou doesn't have to stop work tomorrow, but it's in effect contingent on us making a final decision on what we can see from the plans and the site visit. I think that makes sense. Then we've got that option without having to drop it and restart the process, and we can make an educated decision as a commission and go from there.
So then what would need to be modified or the point of discussion is the deliverables. What would you like to see? Would you like to see a cease and desist? Because that's how it's originally written. Would you like to see the erosion controls? Because that's what's written. Would you like to remove both of those? Usually enforcement orders require some action.
Yeah, I was thinking, here's a question for you. I mean, I'd like to have the option for both, but also the option for one or the other, based on what we see, I think, if that makes sense. So procedurally, can we set it up that way?
Oh, I see what you mean. Yes. What I was saying is that those are what's on the table now. So those would need to be removed from the enforcement order that you ratify. So you would have to make a motion that you are not including those in your enforcement order ratification. I would still advise strongly against erosion controls, just in general. I mean, that's just.
So we can't
that's just
ratify those two things contingent on the site visit. If they get ratified tonight, they go into effect immediately.
Yes, that is true.
Okay.
You can
Got it,
drop
got it,
them
got it.
at a later meeting.
Yeah, there's no point in having an
Got it.
enforcement order, yeah, but that's not how enforcement orders work.
Right.
They're not
I
contingent
understand.
on some point in time, no. That's not how they work.
Got it.
You
That
can-
was what I was asking.
You can always issue another enforcement order. I'll be happy to accommodate that if you can find a resource area. Mr. Chairman, if the commission is interested, here's a photograph of what Bricolai is talking about as this right-of-way, if I can just run it across the board.
I will need that photo for the record,
of course you
just FYI.
So this is the right-of-way.
Yeah?
That's what's there.
I don't believe we're
It's 200
testing,
feet to the trees.
yeah, well, we know that that's not a wet site, but I think the thought is
what's
that
off the side.
we're within a distance.
Well, these are lots. You can see
And I would say this, I don't have any reason at all not to believe Bricolai, and I don't have any reason at all not to believe you.
This is
So-
the area, this is the 60-foot right-of-way that we're talking about.
We'll go out and take a look. Maybe it won't be any clearer, but we'll always say we did what we could do.
Okay, so Richard, in that case, would you say basically we do not take any enforcement order action until after we see the site?
Thank you.
So you're saying that we
Thank
drop
you.
it?
Yeah.
But if we drop it, then we don't get the sidewalk.
Well, we want to take a sidewalk, so
We can still do a sidewalk and then do an enforcement order.
No, that's not.
He's
No.
given us his permission to do a sidewalk.
Yes.
Yeah,
The
but we
issue
may not
is that
legally
we
be able
already
to.
have an enforcement order with one signature. If it is not ratified by the rest of the conservation commissioners tonight, it's dropped.
Right.
So you can still go on your site walk and issue another one, but the issue is a decision for this enforcement order right now needs to be made.
So we wouldn't be able to do it after the sidewalk, is that what you're saying?
You would have to issue a new one.
And what,
So
why is
what's the
that?
problem with that?
That it's not, but we already have an enforcement order it's already in front of you, so you have to deny it, drop it, or ratify it.
Take no action. So if we drop it, then do a site walk and determine that there's a reason to have the.
You can have another, yeah, you can basically put it back.
We put it back.
Right. That's true.
Is there a downside to that?
It's whatever you decide.
But he can still continue to do his work.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
He's gonna do it, he's gonna continue to do his work no matter what the hell we do.
So it doesn't matter.
So you went
It
out,
literally doesn't matter whether you ratify it or not. I mean, it's not gonna change the outcome.
no, I think he would stop, and then he would sue us later. If we turned out-
Well, he could do that too,
He's to the town.
but I don't
But
think
he's
he's
to the
gonna
town.
stop, he's just gonna keep going. He's a contractor, he's just gonna keep going. Let the cards fall where they may.
Mr. Chairman, this is not an active construction site for us. We're not really doing work. We're helping grading. We're creating a berm for one of the neighbors in the back so that they have a buffer. It's, we're hauling some gravel off-site, but we're not there every day. I mean, so we may be there maybe one more day on Saturday, and after that, I will give you my word that we will not engage in any other activity there until you've done your site walk. But it's not a good idea to ratify a enforcement order that has no substantiated evidence of a violation. It's just not a good practice.
We're in a conundrum.
Yeah, well, no, I'm giving you my word tonight that,
I take that to the bank,
okay,
but I also like,
I understand. You
we're
gotta,
sitting here,
if you wanna be loyal to Brika Lai, if you think she's
question
right.
of being loyal.
If-
I respect her opinion, she's always.
I know, but
does
she's-
good. I don't have any reason not to respect yours.
But she's wrong, and so,
Well, you
I-
can say
I
that,
don't-
but we will make our own decision about who's wrong and who's right.
okay, well, can you make that after your site walk?
Maybe.
That's all I'm asking you to do.
That's what
Make
we're
your
trying to
decision
decide.
after your
No,
site
until
walk.
we take the sidewalk.
Yeah, make your decision after the site walk. There's no, I don't think there's any need to ratify an enforcement order when you don't have any evidence that there's a violation.
Well, but Bricolai, you have done a site walk.
We have. I've done a site walk. There is significant ponding and wetland over here, right? See my cursor?
Where is it?
Where it's mapped.
That triangle?
But that's
Yeah.
not on the lot. We're not on that lot.
I understand. Let me roll back. Let me roll back.
Go ahead, roll back.
Wetland resource areas have a buffer zone that is considered a resource under
Right.
the Wetlands Protection Act
Right?
and the local wetlands protection
And that lot is
bylaw.
200 feet wide.
Okay, Lou, I measured the plans with the scale provided and it's still showing that it's that 120 feet.
That's wrong. That lot is 200 feet wide.
Okay, Lou, you gotta go
Okay.
back to the engineer. So 120 feet
Bye-bye.
is equal to 1 inch. So, to the commission, I've always maintained you can make your own decisions, right? I've also maintained when I've been incorrect. I encourage you to make your own sidewalk. At this juncture, I would just suggest that you make a decision on the enforcement order in front of us tonight. Okay?
Can I ask you a question, Bricolai?
Yes.
So, did you happen to measure the width of those lots with an engineering ruler by any chance?
Yes. I
Did they
know
come-
that one, Mark. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, did they come out to the 200 feet?
No, not this plan that I was given from the town planner.
Okay, so that, great, because that seems to be a pretty constant point of reference here that
Yes.
that the buffer zones could not be within 100 feet of that road because those are 200-foot lots, right? That's kind of the point of reference that keeps getting repeated. So if those indeed are not 200-foot lots based on the plan, that kind of takes that argument off the table,
Right,
correct?
that's what she's saying. That's the point, Mark, yeah.
Right.
That's the whole point.
And regardless of the fact, the commission can extend jurisdiction. I'm not suggesting you to. At this point, I'm out.
Yeah.
But
No,
I'm
no,
done for the
it-
night. But you can extend
I just think-
jurisdiction.
Okay, so,
I-
okay,
because it
guys,
seems like-
guys,
seems like
guys,
there's
guys,
two-
wait, no, we're gonna stop. We're gonna stop. Okay, we're stopping now. Okay, this has gone on long enough. Okay, so I think, personally, what we witnessed here, this is not a court of law, but if it was, it would be a very telling one, okay? Because actions and behaviors matter. Okay? So, in my vote is to ratify the order. Ask for both of these issues. Basically the erosion, which won't be done, we know that, right? And also, we want a site walk. We can individually do site walks, we don't have to actually be in a group, okay? I mean, again, according to, I will probably do mine on Monday, okay, just to get it done. If Rika's available, I'll go out with her at the time, right? But I'll probably do Monday morning. At the same time, I will go down to the office. We'll make a personal trip to go down to the office and actually look at these diagrams with Rika, with a ruler, see what she sees. I want to see physically what she sees. I want to see it for myself, right? And that is in my opinion, the most prudent
I'd
course
like
of
to do
action.
that too, because
Yeah.
you have to be very careful on a set of drawings,
Yeah.
taking the scale. If you have a scale down there that shows the marks on there,
Yeah.
then you can use that to
Okay.
go over and check it.
Right.
But other than that,
Yeah.
you gotta be very careful. I've been
Understood.
an estimator for 50 friggin' years, and
I know.
you can't.
Okay, right. This is why we have these people with this kind of experience on our commission, thank God, okay? So I'm just saying, right? We have great diversity here to review this project. So we are taking advantage of that, especially for these kinds of situations. So that, in my opinion, is what I would like us to do, but I leave it to the rest of the commission.
I do.
Would
that.
agree.
I agree.
Ratify.
I have two
If you're gonna be
follow-up
here Monday, I
comments.
can be here Monday. But I
Might
can't
I
be here
sig-
too much longer, because
Yeah.
we're gonna get,
Yeah.
Might I suggest, told Mr. Petrosi to his word, that the cease and desist is effective after this Saturday.
Fine. That's fine.
Right? There you go. And I would like to bring up to the Conservation Commission, in the event it's 110 feet realistically, would you like to include the extension of jurisdiction, at least for erosion control buffers, to prevent anything moving into the buffer zone?
Yes,
So you
Yes.
would like to extend that jurisdiction?
yes.
So then that would mean regardless, the enforcement order, which way it goes,
Right.
is valid.
Just to clarify, so that lot that's between the wetlands and the right of way has a house and a yard on it?
This one right here?
Yes.
Yes, it does.
So the wetland, how can anything drain into that wetland if there's a house and a yard in between?
As far as erosion?
Yeah.
So I wasn't more so thinking it would go this way. I was thinking it would come back in here. So there's actually a walking path that connects to this rail bed. So that's the perfect channel for something to just go whoop and then come right down. And I'm more concerned, it was about this area right here.
We have to walk it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have to see it.
Thank you
So
very much for that clarification.
had the conversation gone a bit differently, I think we also know I'm pretty good at throwing bones when I need to throw bones. So that walking path is inset. So contours go this way, down this way. So this is higher up, right? But then this is also high. So if there was any erosion, it would likely come down this way or drain into the road. I have confirmed down here, actually, there's a culvert. Nope, this is a culvert to the farm, which is over here. So actually, because of track out, the stormwater super and I have noticed sand coming down and getting into this
Yep.
culvert right down
Yep.
here.
That's an obvious tale to tell.
Yeah, so what would be an argument from the applicant is that there's also sand coming off of all of these properties because they're filled with sand. And it's really hard to vegetate the sand.
Right.
So from a jurisdictional standpoint as well of washout, there needs to be proper erosion controls because of what's coming down here.
Now, they seemed to be very adamant that we were looking at the wrong piece of real estate.
Well, we're gonna go outside and go out there physically and look at the.
So
rest.
that's what we gotta say.
Yes, to be fair, I think
Yeah,
he was responding to my email, not necessarily the enforcement order. So I acquiesced, right, that lot 2 is different. What I was reading as lot 2 on the plan is a lot different from what he's saying. Fine, but lot 2 was never on the enforcement order. That was in response to his email.
Correct.
Right, that's not being enforced.
Right.
And then the lot he filed a notice of intent for is over here. Fine, but the plans for access are from this lot.
Yep. Yep.
So
What a wicked
I hope that makes it clear as mud.
Yep. I got it.
Was it also understood that to the right-hand side of the screen now, there's that very long, narrow, that he was thinking about putting an access road there?
Here, this one,
Yeah, that one.
this is the one that he had mentioned in our meeting.
But there's already a house at the end of it, right?
I believe so. When I put my cursor over here, he said it's all the way at the end. So,
And through the chair, and I'm not sure, but I don't know what kind of a hearing it is, but these people have been sitting here all night.
Yep.
Do they get to speak? They get
It's
a
not,
chance?
well, this is an enforcement order, it's not a hearing.
Oh, okay. They understand. Okay.
okay, so to confirm for the record, the commission would like to ratify the enforcement order with several modifications, that being the cease and desist is effective after May 17th, 2024.
Yes.
18th, I'm sorry, 2024.
Yes.
Mr. Petrosi should still install erosion controls
Yes.
at the back, the northeasternly portion of the property, specific to the footpath, right?
Yes.
Regardless of being outside or within the 100-foot buffer zone, to protect the resource areas, that being the 100-foot buffer zone. Okay.
We're saying he has to do that so that he doesn't contaminate the buffer zones.
So you are still in effect trying to protect
Yes.
the jurisdictional resource areas.
Right.
And that circumvents any issue of scale.
Right. Correct.
Okay. So everybody wins and everybody loses, right? That's what Jamie Helen says. So that's everybody wins, everybody loses.
That's a good negotiation, right?
Yeah.
Well, I think, what's the old phrase? A great negotiation is when everybody walks away equally unhappy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not what Stephen Covey would say.
Stephen Covey was saying.
We want win-win.
Okay, all right. So I think we can basically close this out. Yes?
Sure.
Okay, so we know what we're doing. Yes? Right? Do I have to take a roll call vote, or can we just go ahead?
You would, vote to ratify.
Okay, so we vote to
with,
ratify.
With the, amended
Amended.
conditions. Yeah.
That's okay, right. So you wanna?
Make a motion to ratify?
Ratify with the approved amendments.
Make a motion to ratify the approved
Yeah.
enforcement order
With the A-Force mentioned improvements.
with the aforementioned dissertation by Brickalai.
Yeah, got it, okay.
Will I do it?
That'll do it.
Second?
Second.
Okay.
Vote to enforce.
Ratify.
Ratify, whatever.
Ratify.
Ratify.
No enforcement.
Ratify?
Mark?
Vote to ratify.
Thank you, everyone, for your patience. Really, that was, yeah. Just to note.
We'll try.
Well, so remember that the hearing, this is not the hearing, but the hearing has been continued to next, 2 weeks from now, right? So the hearing is still open as a continuation. It's still open for public comment, right? So anyone can come at a public hearing and make comments. Right? The applicant doesn't have to be here. We may still be under a restriction about discussion because, again, there's the superseding order that he filed for, but that doesn't prevent you from coming forth and putting things on the record. Remember, the reason why you come in here is not just to provide opinions, it's to get things on the record. They become part of a permanent record.
Thank you.
Okay, so.
One thought I'm having, so he was under the impression that the erosion controls would need to go in the woods. So if there's any way to make it very clear that that's not what we're talking about.
Yeah, that is fine. Unfortunately, you already ratified it with as stated. But
Well, for example, Briga.
Oh, I know what I would do. I
there's a
just
map-
trying
There's
to.
a map that where the erosion flows should
Yes,
go.
yes.
Right,
So
something
I was
like
trying
that.
to word it in a way because
Yeah.
you've already voted to ratify it,
Sure,
so
sure,
we
sure.
can't like
I
open
know,
it
but
again.
I mean, just-
So, but yes.
Helpful guidance document,
Yes.
someone who's not gonna do it anyway, okay.
That's what I was getting at. I mean,
Yeah,
he's not
yeah,
gonna-
yeah, exactly.
It's not a
All right.
snowball
Well, what
chance
is
in
the
hell he's gonna do it.
ramifications if he doesn't do it?
Fines,
Huh?
fines,
Okay, so that's written in there somewhere?
fines. Well, it's an EO, yeah, it's fines. All right. I think that's it, right? Oh, minutes.
Not,
Oh, we have minutes. Have you guys read the minutes? I did not find anything in between.
I read it.
That's good by me.
No? Okay. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes for May 2nd, 2024?
Go ahead down there.
You guys haven't done
Yeah,
anything?
step up.
You?
Give
Do
me a
something.
motion. Come on, Roger.
Do something. Give us a motion.
I'll give you a motion to ratify the minutes, May, what was it?
May 2nd,
May
2024.
second, 2024.
Second. We're going the other way. Say approve.
Approve.
Approve. Approve.
Approve. Approve.
Mark.
Approve.
Oh, and okay, a motion to adjourn?
Oh, I'm motion to
Undebatable,
adjourn.
undebatable. Okay, yes, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Good job, guys.
31.
Recording stopped.